T.D. hits another three. He already has 3 triples.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Looking to the end zone. Got to be a touchdown. Drake
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Look at this. 2 to shoot. Mitchell drains another 3.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
That one picked off, and it's a pick 6 by Jalen Petrie.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Over the middle, he's got a man in stride, and walking into the end zone is Josh Fleeks with the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. It's gorgeous where we are in Central Texas. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, and we have Armstrong Sims running the mothership, and Jack McKenzie and also placed with us today. A lot of things to get to. There's also a story a little bit later on about Steph Curry and what he's doing with hitting threes at an insane rate. That's coming up a little bit later. Also a stat about Russell Westbrook that's rather interesting. But today, and I got to tell you, I am by no means a soccer aficionado. Don't know much about it. I sometimes get mixed up in the Premier League compared to whatever other leagues. It seemed like to me they're all kind of going on at the same time. But I also understand it's a massive and very powerful group of fans that range from all over the world. But they were going to try to put together this Super League, and I think Jack's going to come on and kind of help understand this. There's a guy that used to work at the Waco Trib. His name is Will Parchman. He covers international and national around the country soccer. We invited him on. He's going to try to join us here momentarily. Craig Smoak was going to bring that up today off the radar at 4:45, so that story's off the top here. And I understand we'll get into Baylor and some other things as well. But this league has imploded in 48 hours. What was going to be a super league of how many teams, Jack? How many teams were going to be a part of it?
They were going for 15, but only 12 had signed on.
15, 12 had signed on. How many are left?
I believe 9 right now officially.
And Craig, you're saying that this thing is all but dead.
I mean, yeah, because they were going to have, as Jack said, 15 teams, and 2 days within their announcement, 3 teams have dropped out. And one of those teams is Chelsea.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have a Super League without Chelsea. And the easiest way to remember all the international leagues is like Premier League's English soccer. There's Spanish soccer, German soccer, Italian soccer. That's the way to remember like Serie A and all those things. It's just basically Germany, Italy, Spain, UK, and then their champions all go play each other for the Champions League title. That's basically what it is. But, this is a big blow to all the people who wanted to see the Super League. I mean, no Chelsea, no Super League with these other teams. Not to mention a couple others. Man City is like one of those. It's not, commenting on anything. I saw another club. I think it was
Manchester United. Are they in this thing mix as well?
Yeah,
I believe they're pulling out.
Yeah, they'll be probably pulling out too. I mean, there's not. I mean, there'll be some teams left not pulling out because it won't be. They won't have to. I mean, it'll basically be.
I'm putting it down. There you go.
It'll basically be done as is, but I lost my train of thought.
That's what I said. Chelsea, Manchester City ask out of Super League.
Yeah.
What the title says, a shock reversal.
Yeah, and then there was another club, I forget who it is now, that's a part of this. I think it was Fulham maybe or somebody like that. Or no, it wasn't Fulham. No, I'm thinking of Tony Khan. Is somebody along?
Is there Atletico Madrid?
Yes.
That's Spain.
Okay.
They're supposed to be in it.
Yeah, that's Spain. So this is going to be the top clubs from all over Europe, even though technically they didn't really have German clubs or...
The 2 biggest German clubs did not want to get in.
Yeah.
The biggest French club declined also. So it was 6 English clubs, 3 Italian clubs, and 3 Spanish clubs.
Yeah, so you're missing the French and the Germans, and so therefore it's not really even what it said it was. It still would have been a Super League, but just not what you think of when you think of like all the best teams playing. like you would in the Champions League. So, yeah, it's probably all but done now. I mean, if you've got teams that are bowing out and you haven't even been a league for 2 days, then I don't think that bodes very well for your future. And I know that Jack can probably comment on this. I think a lot of this stems from the fans. The fans were very upset by the idea of breaking tradition and, kind of just basically ruining a lot of these other clubs as well because, it's like college football. The smaller schools depend on the bigger schools sometimes, at least if not for money, but for eyeballs and things like that. So, it was going to be interesting to see how it would have worked. I think it would have probably been bad for soccer overall. That's just my opinion. I'm not a genius, but I look at it the way I look at college football trying to do the same thing. I don't think it ultimately would be great for college football. Maybe for a year or two, but then I think we'd kind of beg for the old college football back.
Andy Staples tried to put together a super like college football conference, and of course, a lot of people, he eventually said he was joking, but he had to leave out some dudes, alpha dogs. Most of them were alpha dogs, but there's a couple that were older alpha dogs that are no longer relevant. So he did that, and it would be interesting. Is Alabama, if they were in a 15-team Super League, they're not going to go 13 or 14-0 anymore. They're going to lose 2 or 3 or 4 games a year, even when they're really, really good. In this case, was there any kind of polling, or was this something that was blindsided?
It was completely blindsided, the fans. It was mainly, and America is getting some crap for this because it was a lot of the owners of the English teams are American companies like Fenway Sports Group, and they are really trying to push towards the American model of closed leagues where you can never leave that league. You're always guaranteed to be in it, and you will be guaranteeing that revenue. That's not the model they have over there for soccer. You can be relegated, which means you move down a league. If you perform poorly, you can miss out on qualifying for the Champions League. So it removed all that variability. It was much more of the American model, but that also removes the crazy success stories. It's much more, it takes it away from the chaos like March Madness has. Mm-hmm. So college sports is actually a very good way for American fans to try and relate to the way the system is now, and looking at professional sports in America is a very good way for American fans to relate to what these owners are trying to push to.
And one thing that we don't have in America, and some people have tried to suggest it for college football or for the NFL, is relegation, and that wouldn't have been a part of this Super League. So therefore, you'd have teams finishing at the bottom without any real motivation to get any better, because at least if they're relegated, they're like, well, shoot, we got to make money. We got to get better and get back up into the main league to be a part of the big dogs. And you have to fight and scratch and work really hard to do that once you're relegated. If you're a part of this just because you're a founder, you're one of the 15 founders, you never have to worry about that again, which would be nice. But, it also does take away some of that hunger. And to your point, somebody's going to have to finish with a bad record. I mean, not everybody's going undefeated, right. Obviously. Not everybody's even going to be above 500. So, it sounds good if you're Nebraska. And, Andy Staples brought up his 15 teams. We can talk about the ones he mentioned. But, if it's not Nebraska, then it's Oregon. If it's not Oregon, it's somebody else is going to be like a 500 team. And I don't know how much fun that's really going to be in the long run. If you're even 500, some might not even be that good. And I don't know how you dig out of that hole because, then you're kind of just stuck with the same teams around you. It's not you can go take away from the smaller schools as much anymore, so I don't know.
Armstrong, I just sent you Will Parchman's number. He's a national writer, and he's available. Do you want to take a break here, or you want to get him on now? What do you want to do? Get him on now. Okay, Will Parchman, he used to work, by the way, for the Waco Trib, and now he covers soccer. And he was at a meeting, and I think it was probably how are we going to cover this, and then the meeting was dissolved. So he works at UT Arlington, columnist for The Athletic, soccer, and top drawer soccer. He's worked at MLS. And again, like I mentioned, he was a member of the staff at the Waco Trib back just a few years back. And so we'll get his feedback.
Well, here are the Andy Staples teams. We can roll through those if you want to. Alabama, Auburn, which that's a borderline one to me.
Okay, Alabama, yes. Auburn in the middle.
That's borderline to me, yeah. Clemson,
up top.
Florida,
up top.
Georgia,
up top.
LSU,
up top.
Michigan,
up top.
Nebraska.
I love them, but they would be destroyed. They'd never win a game in this league.
Notre Dame.
Okay.
Ohio State.
Absolutely.
OU.
Yep.
Oregon.
They could be in the middle. Let's say, yeah.
That's Nike money. That's what that is. Yep. And I know that they can point to, we've had success lately, but it's not like overwhelming success to the point of you're like, yeah, they're close to being a blue blood. No.
Money talks, though.
That would be a Nike pick.
Okay.
Penn State.
Yep.
Texas,
Yep.
USC.
Yep.
Those were the teams that he had.
Yep. Yeah. And
So like 3 borderline ones, really.
And you could replace any, whether it's Wisconsin or whether it's.
But here's the thing: if you don't have Oregon, you don't have a single team, and even with Oregon, you'd only have
outside
one
of the West
in the entire western half of the country.
You have USC, and that's pretty much.
Okay, yeah, USC. Duh.
Yeah, USC.
I forgot that.
All right, Will Parchman once worked at the Waco Trib. He's the director of student publications, UT Arlington, but he's also a columnist for the Athletic Soccer coverage as well, and he was just in a meeting. The meeting broke up, and he was able to join us on this Super League that looks like, Will, I could be wrong. I'm not a soccer aficionado. Craig and Jack and Armstrong and I have been talking about it. Looks like it's on the edge of falling apart in less than 2 days. Was the meeting about how you were going to cover it, or was it just a meeting about something that had nothing to do with soccer?
Well, thankfully, it got canceled because it had nothing to do with soccer, and I'd much rather be here with you guys talking about it.
There you go. All right. So is this thing about to fall apart within the next 24 hours, or has it already fallen apart?
Well, I tell you, when the Prime Minister of the UK and the President of France sternly come out against something within about 24 hours, and those are 2 countries that don't always necessarily get on politically, I think that you've kind of can be assured that you've hit a nerve when you've got, that level of involvement. But, you look all the way down. I mean, the response to this, and as an outside observer, looking in obviously to the way Europe has largely responded, it's been really great to see because, this league in particular would be such a bald-faced slap of, basically every convention of competitive sports that you can conceive of. And, what's funny to me, so I'm sure we'll get into some of the details here in a minute, but Manchester City, the English Premier League team, has bags and bags of oil money that they spend on players and coaches every year. They've got one of the most famous coaches in the world. The guy's name is Pep Guardiola. He's a Spanish kind of genius. He came out this morning and said he disagreed with the league, had no idea what it even was, who was in it. And the club tweeted out his press conference. This is a team that's supposed to be in this league that seems to be disagreeing with it. Their managers have no idea what is even going on with it. If that doesn't sort of smack of the poor planning and just sort of the general state of things right now, the confusion and everything going on, I don't think anything else would.
Yeah, well, and it's surprising because with the way that they came out with it, you would have thought that this was like the most well-kept secret, most well-thought-out plan ever. It's the way it just exploded with the news. I mean, what was your reaction initially? Was this something that you had expected to be a possibility, or was this just a complete shock to pretty much everyone that they were even trying to do this?
Well, there had been rumors for some time that there was some sort of breakaway group that had been planned, but nothing certainly had seemed concrete enough to even begin to take first steps at forming it. Real Madrid might be a name that some people, even non-sports fans, would be familiar with because they are really the sort of the legacy club in the world. They spend, crazy amounts of money, always have, even back 50, 60, 70 years ago, they've been that way. Their club president, Florentino Perez, came out and said that COVID-19 had a direct impact on their decision to come out and do this. Now, I don't know a whole lot about boardroom politics when it comes to UEFA and, big-time club soccer in Europe, but that seems to be a bad idea to go into a sort of overdrive just because you feel like you want to make money. And this does sort of seem like very, very money centric decision where the competition certainly is not, because it's, there are 15 founding clubs right now. They plan to expand. They want to add 5 more and have a cap at 20 clubs. They can't ever be relegated. They can't ever, it's like an internal competition. Nobody can ever come in. I guess they could expand it later if they wanted to. But basically the whole point is just to have this holding pen for some of the world's richest clubs where they can just get funneled ad money apart from everyone else. Now, how that wouldn't seem like just a blatant cash grab that, again, sort of goes against the entire precept of competition, especially in Europe. Here we're a little bit more used to self-contained entities. In Europe, the whole system is built on small clubs being able to sort of lift themselves up by their bootstraps, get promoted, get into the top leagues and play with the big dogs. And this is sort of a repudiation of all that, which has just seen, I mean, I expected some backlash, but it has been immense.
We're talking to Will Parchman again, the Athletic Soccer. He writes for them and covers quite a bit as well.
He doesn't have a question.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. About the Super League. The fans of soccer, and I say international soccer, of European soccer, of these type of leagues, they're as passionate. They make Philadelphia Eagles fans look like nuns. I mean, they are incredibly loyal, incredibly outspoken, and incredibly passionate. All of those things and above. Is it so? Some liked this idea and some did not. Is this going to like turn into some bad blood for those who say no, or how is that going to work out? Because they seem like they're not real big fans of each other anyway.
Well, yeah, it's going to just create more division. The crazy thing to me is that the fans, by and large, of these clubs seem to be against it. You would think just the thinking of let's take Liverpool. It's a fairly well-known English team. They're apparently one of the drivers behind all this. They're really interested in the Super League. They have a very sort of fan-based atmosphere. The song that they sing before and after every game is called "You'll Never Walk Alone." It's literally everyone putting their arms around each other and just belting out this song. And so this idea that they would sort of almost rip the soul out of the club in this way and sort of push them into this competition where they're sort of cloistering themselves off from the rest of Europe has really struck a nerve, among even the fans. And so I think what you're seeing now is less a fan versus fan situation and more like an owner versus everyone situation, where all of the fans, and again, this is remarkable because like you mentioned, the animosity, I mean, it runs along religious lines, political lines. I mean, you name it, the amount of animosity that some of these fans have for each other in Europe. And yet they have somehow, these owners have somehow managed to find a common bond among them in how much they seem to hate this new policy. And there's really no American sort of parallel because like I said, we've got, there's no way a G League team, for instance, could like get promoted to the NBA. But that's what we're looking at here. If you did have that capability, they just closed it off and said, well, we're good with our group here. And so, I didn't think anything could, ever bring together like a Chelsea and a Tottenham fan or a Manchester United, Manchester City fan, but this has somehow managed to do that.
Do you think that all this backlash from the fans will actually make these American owners like Fenway Sports Group or the Glazers try and sell off their stake in the clubs?
No, I don't. And the only reason I think that is because they've been doing some really dumb things for a long time. And, people have been picketing, especially the Glazers. They have somehow managed to ignite a passion of hatred against themselves that goes back years. And, they've somehow stuck it out. I mean, I think the revenue has something to say about that. But what I do think will change is, the fans won't necessarily drive change. I mean, certainly they will help the cause, but what I think is going to happen, like I mentioned, Boris Johnson in the UK has spoken out against it. Emmanuel Macron in France has spoken out against it. Angela Merkel in Germany usually keeps her cards a little bit closer to the chest, but I guarantee you there are no German clubs in this league, you'll notice. And I think the reason for that is because of they've got some deeply held beliefs on how clubs are run. And I don't know that you're going to see a German club except even, before if this whole thing falls apart. So there are, I think, people in the highest halls of power that have a vested interest in this. And remember, this would be a direct competitor to the UEFA Champions League, which is like the most lucrative league in any sport in the world. And so they also, as heads of state among, this UEFA Champions League footprint, have a stake in not having this thing succeed because it's going to directly hurt them. Because this, again, cash grab straight into the hands of these owners. And that's, if Florentino Perez is correct at Manchester or at Real Madrid, and this is a sort of a knee-jerk reaction to COVID, and we need more money in the coffers, he probably shouldn't have revealed that publicly because it does not make them look good.
So, Will, what do you think stems from this? I mean, obviously, it looks like this thing is going to fall apart with a couple teams already announcing they're already done. I mean, assuming that everybody goes back to where they were, how do the leagues respond to that? I mean, I'm sure, the Premier League wants, all their top teams, obviously, to make money, but also kind of a little bit pissed that, this happened the way that it happened. So do you think there's some drama to come, or do you think that all sides will be able to kind of just settle back into the groove they were in prior?
Oh, I think they're very pissed. I think that would definitely be an understatement. I think what you'll end up seeing is some regulation and rules that would prevent something like this from even forming, because previously it was the only reason this was even on the table is because there was enough vagaries around whether you could even do this and get away with it, that they knew that, they could probably skirt the bylaws a little bit and figure out, okay, well, we can pocket some money here, and we could, how they thought they were going to get away with it, I have no idea, but they could technically make that case. I think what you're going to see is some rules and regulations from UEFA, from like the Premier League, from the Spanish League, where they make this impossible to happen in the future. That doesn't mean that there won't be cash grabs in other ways, but man, the amount of animosity that these owners, these clubs in particular, have built up around it. I mean, it's going to take them a long time to shake this off, and the thing I'm most excited about, honestly, is that this is going to create some great songs, some chants from the stands. That I guarantee you there's going to be some amazingly clever, probably slightly profane songs that come out of this that you're definitely going to want to look up.
Well, I'm not nearly as big of a soccer fan as you. I know a little bit here and there, but not a diehard by any means. But I'm guessing, just from the way you've been talking, you were not a fan of this idea, or were you intrigued by it as a soccer fan?
Well, when they initially started talking about it, I thought it might be interesting if it was done right. And so, like, if you had tacked on like an extra competition on top of the Champions League, to where you've got maybe 6 to 8 clubs that, had finished in a certain place in the Champions League, and created sort of a secondary competition that's almost like, okay, like, now that we've got the minnows out of the way, now that we did this, now we can kind of have our thing over here, and have it be part of the pyramid, part of the system, because, Europe's big on pyramids. They want you to be able to work up if you can. It's kind of a smoke and mirrors show, because it really is kind of the same clubs every year, but there's at least a chance, as small as the great Lloyd Christmas would say, at least there's a chance, So, what this did really was cut out all of that. And like, I mentioned Pep Guardiola earlier, part of his comments were, it completely defies what sport is when you take competition out of the question. And that's basically what they did. And so the way that they organized it, they didn't even inform the managers of really who is even involved. Pep Guardiola mentioned he didn't even know kind of what the system was, so he couldn't really comment on it. I mean, that's a joke. I mean, the fact that they pushed this at this level into international waters, and even the most influential manager on earth had really no idea what was going on. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of from the play your kids movement. I love seeing clubs that push out young kids. I love, developer clubs. I know MLS certainly not even near that level, but, right up the road here, FC Dallas does a great job of developing young players, and, there's a niche there. So you're basically eliminating that niche, because none of these clubs involved really have anything to do with creating their own talent. And so it's detaching them from the system that created them. And I think there's some disingenuity there that has to be reckoned with. And if this thing goes away, I think it's going to be a long time before you hear anything remotely like this proposed, because, again, I think the backlash sort of speaks for itself.
Will Parchman writes for theathletic.com. He covers soccer for the site, along with he's written for many other soccer magazines and sites and much more with us on SicEm365 Radio.
So, Will, is there anything in American sports, whether it's NCAA conference realignment or some other something from history with professional sports like the NFL or the NBA, where politicians reacted this strongly and helped kind of alter the path?
Yeah, I don't think professionally. I don't think you would see that as much on a professional level. I think the U.S. Has really sort of walled off professional sports as sort of its own pillar almost. It's almost like its own entity, to where it's so fervently followed that politicians have just sort of kicked that can down the road and said, okay, well, we're going to give that power to the commish. They're going to, we're going to give them the ability to make their own mistakes. I think where you see it most is in the NCAA, whether you're talking things like Title IX, whether you're talking, any of the myriad policies that come down, because again, that's state money. That's money that the state, and by extension, the federal government has a stake in. And that's what we're talking about here in Europe. These European countries benefit directly off of the Champions League, and they're all within sort of this very tight proximity, much like you would see, with the states here in the U.S. And so really that's probably the best lens to view it from. And I think if you look at it through that lens, it creates think about the issue of players generating their own revenue and being able to profit off their likeness while they're in college. The overwhelming opinion now, at least that I've seen, is pro player. People want players to be able to profit their own likeness. Sure, bring NCAA football video game back, but give a cut to the players because it's their likeness, right? That is the same sentiment that I think the fans have of, definitely do not rip the money out of these clubs by giving it all to like 20 clubs. Because that's essentially what they're trying to do, is siphon money away from some competitions and towards themselves. And so I think there's a parallel there. And I think the fact that the two responses have been similar sort of speaks to the age, where we're a little bit more populist, to where we want the disenfranchised to be enfranchised. We want the little guy to become the big guy. And I think that's what is sort of the psyche here. And so I think what you'll see in both cases is an increased backing of smaller clubs in Europe. And I think you'll see, likewise here, I think you'll see some of these, if I could call them draconian rulings against players making money. I think we're already on that path to seeing that removed as well.
Will Parchment with The Athletic. Greg, you guys, Will, I know I got a hold of you about an hour ago, and thank you. Appreciate it. I'm glad we got you on earlier, because it's obviously it's a big, big story. I understand the massive amount of interest in international or European soccer.
Well, here's former Arsenal manager basically said what Will said. Maybe in 10 years there'll be a European league, or he had said this previously, but he said that it's based on, it would ruin the sporting merit, basically, which is Will saying, and like the competition level. So yeah, this is obviously not a here's the exact quote. I'm not surprised it didn't last long. It ignored the basic principles of sporting merit. If you ignore that, you kill the domestic leagues. So fans would never accept that, and that's what Will's saying there.
Yeah, and the key word is the relegation factor, right? You're in this league no matter what. Yeah. You're among the 15, whether you're 0-4 or whatever else. You got a call for Will? Oh, he just hung up. Okay, he had to go. All right, that's cool. That's really cool. Good to Will Parchment. Great guy, understands the sport, as you can imagine. Good questions from Jack and Craig, and I tried to at least give us some knowledge on that, and we appreciate it. Coming up in just a minute, former Baylor defensive coordinator and multinational champion coach, another 5-0 season. They went unbeaten in the mini-season during the spring. From Mary Hardin Baylor, Pete Fredenberg, next on SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 1943. 1943, they opened their doors, and here we are, 78 years later, and they are just still rolling with the best when it comes to pipe and metal and steel and metal buildings, and helping you build big things and giving you the product that you need, and making sure that if you need it, they'll get it to you whenever they possibly can if they don't have it already. And, of course, I've mentioned this before, they're going to help take it to where you need it and unload it for you, because we're talking about, in some cases, tons and tons and tons of product. And customer service is not just something they put on their page. It's something that matters to them. Something that when you walk out the door, you feel like you are basically maybe not the only one in that building, but you sure felt like everybody wanted to make sure you got what you needed and the information you needed to make a decision for you to build something with metal or steel or pipe or more. Pioneer Steel and Pipe since 1943. Waco and Bryan locations, Saturday 8 until noon at pioneerboys.com.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
You know, yesterday I had the opportunity, Armstrong was in studio, to sit down with Coach Taft, Grant Taft, for an hour. We're going to replay that at some point again. It's on the site, SicEm365.com. And a lot of things that I asked him were because I reached out to various people that might have some stories that maybe had never been told before. So Pete Fredenberg, everyone knows Coach Fredenberg, the multinational championship coach at Mary Hardin Baylor, former defensive coordinator, here to kind of talk about both of those, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Pete, thank you for your time. Thanks for the conversation on Sunday evening, and I want to get into the Hotel Liberty Bowl fire alarm story with you. That was interesting. I don't even think his daughter Lane, who was in the studio, had ever heard that one before.
Really? Oh, it was awesome. It was, it was crazy because it brings back such fond memories of so many wonderful people. But the ensemble of people rushing out of their hotel rooms down to the lobby at 3:30 in the morning, and once we realized we were going to be safe and everything was a false alarm, then you started just noticing and checking out what people had on and had been interrupted in the middle of the night and on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. And Karen Goff came down in light blue sweat pants and top with a red heels shoes. It was crazy. Linda James, who always dresses immaculate, she came down and Karen was going around taking pictures, and Linda James threatened her without her makeup on, she would kill her. Hilarious. And, it was just crazy, but it was the thing that was most interesting and unbelievable was Coach Taft and wanted to know who set it off, and asked me to go find out. And I visited with several of the players that were down there, and they said, and they indicated to me that John Simpson had done it. And then that's when I said to Coach Taft, well, to send him home. The next morning, after gathering more facts, Coach Taft, in his infamous way of keeping things under control, said it wasn't just John Simpson, Pete. It was Ray Berry, our All-American linebacker. And I quickly said, well, we'll distance from him when we get him home after the game. And Graham just laughed, and it was funny. It was really interesting.
And he did say yesterday that those two guys played for their lives, like you had mentioned, that they were petrified, and both won the MVP on either side of the ball.
That's right. Offensive and defensive players. And we played LSU, which was a huge challenge for us, and beat them. And it was a great experience. But that night was memorable, and I just cherish those memories so much with when things like that happen. We were doing Christmas, and Karen had to be careful, and we had to get our three kids down 16 flights of stairs, and it was hilarious. And they tell the story that John Goodner wasn't sure that it was really a factual fire alarm, and he went to the wall, he tested to see if the door was hot. Then he opened the door and people running and up and down the hall. So he just took off running and left Karen in the room with her by herself. So that he was taking care of John Goodner at the time.
Well, you know what I realized when I reached out to multiple people, including you, Pete Fredenberg, head coach at Mary Hardin Baylor, was that so many people wanted to be a part of having their stories shared. Yours, Gary Don Johnson, Andrew Mellontree, others, many of them that reached out to me. Even Mike Singletary got on the phone with me a little bit too and gave me some stories as well. I know you've now been at this dynasty that you've created at Mary Hardin Baylor, but you know what? That core of what you guys did at Baylor is what set the tone for them to become relevant, because up until 74, Baylor was basically irrelevant when it comes to athletics.
It was an amazing time in our lives, and it was a wonderful experience to be there and to watch the development not only of the program, but the quality of players and the coaches that came through, and the effort. And and you got to tip your hat at Grant, because he's the one that did it all, and was the one that had the vision and kept us all together, and he did it in a first-class Christian manner, and I will always be indebted to him and what I learned in those years that I spent with him.
Pete, you guys ran the table, 5-0, shortened season, beat Mary Hardin Baylor to capture a conference title. I haven't had you on because last year, of course, in the fall, you didn't have a season, but you kept guys, grinding towards playing something. How weird was it? And how weird is it you just finished your season less than a month ago?
It was really weird. It was spring in the fall and fall in the spring. We only had 2 of our players come down with COVID. They had to miss some time. So when we started in the spring and started the 5-game schedule, we split the conference up into East and West. We were in the East, and Hardin Simmons was in the West. We both ended up 4-0, and we played the championship match in Abilene. It was a great win for us, and obviously it will carry over. The great thing is that, one of our starters, senior Steve Sellers, will graduate and already has a job, so we're going to miss him. Kadarius Daniels also already has a job, and we're going to miss him. But the rest of the seniors are returning, obviously, because the NCAA, you didn't lose any eligibility during the COVID era. We had a great experience. It was a wonderful win in Abilene, and hoisting the conference championship there in their stadium was awesome. And then we get back, and on Monday, our coaches started feeling bad, and we ended up with 9 coaches out with COVID. I was fortunate because I had been vaccinated, and another one of our coaches also had been vaccinated, so we were not touched. But the rest of them have just now started coming back to work, and it was a tough deal for us because everybody in the press box in the coaches booth all got sick, and so then it filtered over to some others.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, and you just never know. And we saw what Baylor's men's basketball team had to deal with. The women, even before that, had to deal with it as well. And a lot of teams did. About the time you might feel like everything's fine, then all of a sudden there's a flare-up as well. Pete, you look at your record, and I've got all of what you've done since you started that program from scratch, literally from scratch in 1998, and all of it you've accomplished. And I know that, recently there's been things that have happened and whatever else, and people can debate all of that forever. When you look at what you've done, it's Picasso, right? I mean, do you have a Mona Lisa of a football program based on what you've accomplished?
It's been an incredible experience, and I really and truly, when I took the job, I wanted to stabilize Cody's life. Cody was a sophomore. He had left Waco, and then we'd go to Baton Rouge, and then we left Baton Rouge and went to Ruston, and so I just thought, well, I want to get him in a place where we can finish his high school career. And so then I thought maybe I would head back into Division I. This has been an extraordinary experience, largely because of the quality of people that you deal with. The university's been very gracious to me and to my family. But the thing that I would say the most overwhelming thing to me is guys that come and play the game that they love to play just so they can play it. They don't get scholarships or any kind of aid. They pay for their education and play the game that they love. And, that means so much to me, and it's been such a rewarding experience. So it's been fun developing it. Obviously, with the wins have been a thrilling part of it, and we love that. But the reality is that it's just been great to deal with such quality people and see the development of this program.
Yeah, the records ever since really after your first couple of years when you guys were just figuring it out. From that point on, I realized there's been 1 year since 2000, you had, a couple of teams, of course, had 2 losses, but only one team, 2006, had 3 losses. And other than that, I mean, you basically have run the table or lost just once, and sometimes you've lost it in the semis of the championship or whatever else. What do you say? How do you sell Mary? You got beautiful stadium, Drayton McClain and what he's done, and you guys have built this amazing run. What do you say to players? Because even though it's Division III, there are talented players on your roster that are better than what would be considered, from some people who don't know, Division III football.
Oh, man, yeah, there's so many good players. And what happened to me was when I got into the nuts and bolts of it in 97, they hired me to just kind of start the program and hire coaches. And so my goal was to get in a 75-mile radius of our campus and just tell the story to the coaches and the players. We kind of thought 100 players would be a break even and get us started. We had 217 guys show up that year. Mm-hmm. That was the first year of the program, 1998, 217 kids. And what you realize is that there's such a love for this game, and because of an inch here or some speed, a little bit of speed or whatever, 10 pounds, guys don't get recruited, and there's so limited number of scholarships, but they still have that fire in their belly and they want to play the game. And it's amazing the quality of people that we've been able to get to the university. And the location is awesome. It's a great Christian environment. Kids get a great education and then play the game. And the university has allowed us to build an incredible program. We do it first class, and our guys get an opportunity to play in that beautiful stadium. And one thing's just led to another, and it's just been an awesome experience.
When I think of Pete Fredenberg, head football coach at Mary Hardin Baylor, former defensive coordinator at Baylor, when I think of Division III football, the first thing that used to come to my mind, and you've had wins against them, you've faced them before, Mount Union, Whitewater, those are the ones, and there's others as well. When you started in 98, I think those teams were, I know Mount Union's won like it seems like since, who knows. But
right.
Did you ever truly think you could get to that level of cruise control where you are now?
I never shied away from the idea that we could. Simply think about this, David. You're in the middle of the best football in the United States. You're in Texas, and we're in the heart of Texas. And so if we can just get our share of guys that want to continue to play while they're going to get their education, yes, sir, we have a great opportunity, and I think the proof is in the pudding. I just think that we've had an opportunity to get guys that came first and developed such a camaraderie, and the alumni now are our football alumni are very supportive of our program. It just continues to feed on itself, and we're just very blessed to have started it and kind of had a vision of what it was going to take, and it's just taken off. And it's the memories and the guys lives that we've touched and been involved with is, it's just something that every coach I think in the world would love to have the opportunity to do what we've done.
You have won those national titles. You have won multiple national titles, and I know the NCAA had their ruling or whatever, and you had to deal with that. Did that ever cost you at all during recruiting? At all? Did anyone ever say, "Okay, I can't come here"?
No, and I think everybody understands that the NCAA, the extra benefits deal is an extraordinary, complicated issue. But my belief is, I thank God people helped Pete Fredenberg along the way, and I never did anything illegal. I just helped guys that needed help, and I loaned an old car of mine to a kid, and that's what the NCAA pulled that for. But I still don't know that I wouldn't do it again, because I just think that it's something that was the youngster needed it, and I had it available, and it was just sitting in my driveway.
Do you think that because of what happened, and Pete, you guys won it again? You won it again
right.
in 2018.
Yes, sir.
And then last year 12-1. Then this year, do you feel like if you get another one, and you most likely will, you win another one, will that even be more special because of all you've dealt with?
Yes, absolutely. That's it's just such an extraordinary experience to see guys come together and develop the camaraderie and the teamwork and all the things that it takes to win and stay and to win 15 ball games in a row. it's not easy to do, but it's great to see when that happens. And we would love to win another one, and that's our goal and that's our aspiration. And these guys that are coming back are eager to do that.
Pete, couple more things. The season ended on March the 27th. You guys will start back up with drills, I would think, probably practices sometime in August or whenever, play in September. That still seems to be just enough time for the bodies to recover, even though it's a 5-game season, not 11, 12, 13, whatever it is. Was that part of the shortened season as well, to maybe not push the limit too much, or was it just that's all time you had to get in because there were no postseason games?
Well, they started out with saying that it wouldn't affect your eligibility if you stayed with 5 or less games. But when we started getting the freeze hit, the cold spell that we had, some COVID incidences that people had canceled games, we were able to push the season back. But there was a time that all of us were concerned that we don't want to go too far because the fall's right around the corner. And we were fortunate to come out of the season healthy. We're excited about where the guys are. They're lifting right now and doing some conditioning work, and we're going to test them here in the next week or so and see where we're at. But we're really excited about the guys that are coming back and the nucleus of the quality of players that we have. And so, who knows? But we're eager to get going.
Everything happens for a reason, and back when Coach Taft decided to move away as the head coach, Chuck Rhoades got the job. Coach Taft became the AD. You eventually go to LSU, and look at where you are now. It gave you this opportunity. But is there still part of you, there's a file in the back of your head or a little piece in your gut that wishes that would have been you that had a chance to take over that program?
Come on, man. You know that when I was when Coach Taft gave me an opportunity to come in 1980, I fell in love with Baylor University. My wife taught there for 34 years, just retired 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Baylor is a big part of our lives, always will be, has been. I love a lot of the people that are there on that campus. It was devastating to what happened. And again, the person that I was the very most concerned about was my youngest son. My oldest 2 children got to go from elementary through high school in Waco, and that is a dream for a coach to be able to have that longevity. And again, I attribute all of that to Grant Taft and the things that he believed in, and thank God I got the opportunity to learn some of those values.
Made me always wonder, with all due respect to whatever happened afterwards, and of course they've had some success the last decade, a lot of success, a couple of dark clouds, is it could have been a program that had just 2 or 3 head coaches over 30 years or so. Had the transition stayed and had you been a part of that. I'm not, again, they had some success after Coach left, but not a lot. And then we know they went through a rough patch as well. Pete, man, it's great to hear from you. Thanks for that story about the hotel, the Liberty Bowl, LSU. That was greatness. Thanks for your time, and God bless.
God bless you too. Thanks very much, David.
Pete Fredenberg, Mary Hardin Baylor. They have been on a mission, literally, the last several years after the first 2 years of building that program from nothing, absolutely nothing. When we come back, a couple of notes to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. In fact, we'll go straight into the Lars Hansen, by the way, is going to join us at 4:45 on JV on Sundays. He's got some people talking up at the University of Washington. Mack Rhoades at 4:20 and much more. SicEm365 Radio. Don Shumidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco, where if you like to smoke cigars and you like the good ones, they have them. Ashton and Macanudo, Cohiba, Padron, Rocky Patel, and Romeo and Julieta. My father, one of the great cigars, elite cigars, is the Cuatro Nicaragua. And that's just inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. If you do smoke cigars, maybe your torch lighters needs a little extra fuel. They can help you with that. If you need a new torch lighter, you need one that's a little bit smaller. I have a couple of torch lighters, one that's in my golf bag whenever I actually get to play, and then one at home when I want to smoke a cigar when I'm at home. And also the humidors to put the cigars in. Smaller ones that can maybe hold 10 or 12, some that are like road pack, like Pelican case, where you could put 8 or 10 when you're on a road trip, and then the big, huge humidors where you could put in 50 or 100 or something close to that. And the fresh coffee beans with every flavor and aroma you could imagine. CBD products, including VitaDreams, to help you when you fall asleep. You are asleep, and you don't toss and turn and waste 30 or 45 minutes before you fall asleep. You actually may wake up earlier before your alarm because you're sleeping better and sooner. Don Humidor, tell Carol and Ashley Smokey sent you in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
All right, just a couple of notes here in this hour. Craig has Off the Radar at 4:45. Lars Hansen covers Washington in the 4 o'clock hour, and also Mack Rhoades at 4:20. Kihei Arihara had 5 2/3 shutout innings for the Rangers. Their starters now have gone 19 2/3 shutout innings in the last 3 games. It's the first time they've had scoreless in 3 consecutive games from the starters since July of 2011, 10 years ago, with Derek Holland, Harrison, Matt Harrison, and Colby Lewis. Russell Westbrook, the first player in NBA history with multiple triple-doubles against every single franchise, all 30 of them, including the teams he's played for. He had a triple-double again for against his former team, in fact, the Thunder. And then also Steph Curry. He now has, 10 games in which he has he's had 6 games this year where he's had 10 or more three-pointers made. There's nobody in the game, in the history of the game, who's had 5 in a career. Have you seen the numbers he's putting up? They're insane.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
49. He is scoring at an incredible rate. They're kind of coming up the standings in that play-in between 7, 8, 9, and 10. In fact, the Spurs and Golden State are kind of nudging ahead, closer to the Mavericks and company at the 7, 8. That's crazy. Absolutely nuts. He's got more this year than anyone's had overall in their career. There was one other note. Jordan Reed, who was dripping with talent, a tight end, played with the Washington for a long time. Always hurt. It was always frustrating. He was always missing games. He was always injured. Went to San Francisco. I thought he might end up being a star there. He retired after 7 years, constantly having injuries, and he is no longer a part of the NFL. He is an unreal talent. I hate it for him.
Probably should have done about 5 years ago, given all the concussions and everything else, but could have been an all-time great, and instead was an all-time day of decision type of player. Just always hurt. And that's just, part of the reality for some people. But for somebody as injury-riddled as he was, he made a long career out of it just because he was so good when he was healthy. So not a surprise in any way that he's deciding to hang him up. Just a surprise, really, that he even took this long to do so, given how hit or miss he was. But he was hit often enough to like I said, hang around for a while, even with those issues. So, good for him, and won't be getting his brain knocked around anymore, which is good.
When we come back, the Caesars Sportsbook by William Hill has put out the notes on the plus-minus over-under on wins for the upcoming 2021 football season. It's still kind of hard to do that because no one's even drafted anybody yet. And who knows how that can affect it? Where are the Cowboys, the Texans, and everybody else? What about Tampa Bay or Kansas City? We'll have that for you. Mack Rhoades at 4:20. Craig's off the radar. We'll also have a writer who covers the University of Washington on JV on Sunday, the former Connolly star. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, and John McClain, all still to come. Sic'em365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Teague with Grimes on him. Now here's Mitchell. That matchup, Sasser defensively. And Mitchell hits a three as well.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Paul remains out this week. He will be a part of the show starting next week again. Jack McKenzie is here. Jack, and Armstrong Sims, Craig Smoak, David Smoak. I got to tell you, I have not received enough support from any of you that I, in fluid fashion, was able to secure a soccer analyst to hit the biggest story in the world right now in sports. And none of you even acted as if you thought I could get that done.
Didn't know you were trying to, so I couldn't have acted like I didn't think you were going to get it done. But, yeah, I mean, that's a nice job done. And I remember when Will wrote at the Waco Trib when I first got here. I think he was still writing for the Trib. Didn't really know him much, but he was a great soccer guest. And, that was good. It was informative, and I know that there's a heavy interest out there in America for European soccer. For the MLS, not so much, but for European soccer, there is definitely a lot of people who have adopted teams. It's kind of become a cool thing to do. Like a few years ago, I remember everybody is just like hopping on the bandwagon. Who should I root for? Picking a team and, going through all of that. I think for a little while, even like going back 15 years ago, I wouldn't consider myself a fan, but I guess if I had to pick somebody, it was Arsenal, because my buddy Josh was a big Thierry Henry fan, and he loved Arsenal. And so I kind of followed the Gunners a little bit. I never got real into it like a lot of other people, but it is interesting. It's very, very interesting. And it's even more interesting that this whole thing shut down 2 days after it was announced. And I think that would be a similar fate to college football. I think college football would probably make it work for a little while. But I can tell you right now, as a fan of a team that would be involved, I would lose interest. I would not be as much of a fan of college football, even if the program that I root for is going up in these basically national championship matches every week. It's fun when, you beat up on the Kansas State team, even though, Kansas State's pretty good, but, you beat that team, you move on to your regional rival, and you have your Bedlam game or your whatever, your Apple Cup or whatever the heck, regional trophy, rivalry trophy, and you play your conference and you win your conference and you maybe get a shot at something. And that's the way that it's kind of always worked. And I don't really see the need to change it all that much. I think there's things that can be tweaked, but the idea of taking like the top 20 teams and moving them all by themselves, I'd watch maybe the first weekend. But I'm going to tell you right now, I know for a fact I would not stay with it. I know I wouldn't, because I don't like the idea. And I just think it would be exactly what he outlined of what these European clubs are trying to do. That's exactly why there's even a conversation, even if it's completely based off nothing. It would just be a money grab.
Yeah.
That's all it would be. It would be a money grab. So here in America, it probably will happen because that's what we do. We just are greedy as hell over everything. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen because money's involved, and Lord knows, UT needs more, and OU needs more, and Michigan needs more. But it would ruin, I think, the fun and the festivity of college football, and it would just be a semi-pro league, basically, before you move on to the NFL. And I have no interest in watching that.
No, I saw what Andy Staples did. We went over this, and there's so many schools that could argue that. And it's 15. Does it need to be 16? Does it need to be 22? It's almost like how many teams should be in the playoff. I'm not interested. I would not even be interested in that if my team was any good, which they're not. They're irrelevant.
Well, in your case, too, like, Michigan fans think it sounds cool, or Oregon fans think it sounds cool. Well, Oregon, guess what? You're not playing Cal, and you're not playing a down Stanford team, and you're not playing, you're playing Texas, and then the next week you're playing Oklahoma.
And you're not playing non-conference games, even though one of them might be pretty competitive.
And then and I know that they don't care, the big schools don't care, because this whole thing, and this, I know we're talking all hypotheticals to be very clear, but I know that the big schools don't necessarily care what the small schools think, but they would absolutely ruin a lot of programs out there and ruin a lot of conferences. And so I think the college football fandom, it might be the minority, even though it would be the majority of schools, just because the schools involved are so large. I mean, you're talking about, 100,000 living alumni schools and things like that. But I think there would be a big backlash to it. I do.
Now, I agree. But you almost expect that at some point. There's a Power 5, and then there's the non-Power 5, and eventually the Power 5 might, become even less. And then there's the secondary Power 5. Who knows? All right, so the Caesars Sportsbook by William Hill. Mack Rhoades in the next segment. A lot of things to get to with him. Chiefs open up their 17 games now, so that changes a little bit. There's 17 games. You'll have 9 or 8 home games or 9 or 8 road games, and that changes every year, every other year. The Chiefs open up by the odds makers with 12-5.
Okay.
That's probably about what you would think. Buccaneers at 11.5. I think that's too high, even though they just won it, and they won 11 games last year. There's an extra game. I just think that I like what they have. Brady year 2. It's just sometimes you have that next year, it's just not quite the same. But that's probably fair. And then, of course, the Buccaneers.
Well, that's to get people to bet.
Sure.
Kansas
City won 14 games last year.
Hey, they won 11 last year. Let's make it a half game higher. They're Super Bowl champs. Come on, suckers, pony up. And you know what? Maybe Tom Brady is the GOAT like that, and he wins 12 games and, just further cements his GOAT status. But
Ravens and Packers, 11.
Yeah, that's about right.
Buffalo and the Rams, 10.5.
That's where I don't know. I get why, but I don't know if I would feel comfortable betting on that, or on the Rams at least.
10 teams open up with double-digit wins. Also, the Seahawks and 49ers.
Actually, the Rams have
10.
Stafford now, don't they? Never mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking of. Never mind.
Don't think about golf. They should be better. Now, Dallas is usually a team that they just stick them in that list. It's like Texas. Anytime there's a preseason top 25, and you always see them when they're kind of like you're not so sure about them. Put them at 25 or put them somewhere. The Cowboys are 9.5. They actually were left out of the party of 10+. And usually they are the one that's going to probably get the most bets, the most action because of just their popularity and or always a team that gets a lot of attention, even if they're not very good. 9.5 for the Cowboys. That means
that's fair.
That's a 9-8 team or a little bit better than that.
And the Cowboys' extra game is the Patriots this year.
Which, they hope they're the Patriots of what we saw in 2020, but I think Belichick is going to regroup. They got a lot of draft picks. They've been very aggressive in free agency. They still got to clean up Cam Newton, their quarterback, but yeah, who knows who they'll be by then, right?
Yeah. I think that's a safe bet they'll bounce back. I mean, they've clearly shown a desire this offseason to kind of right the ship with how aggressive they were in free agency. bulking up the tight end spot. And then, they got a lot of picks they can make too. So, they got to figure out the Cam Newton thing and if that's going to really be the play long term. So they'll be a team definitely of interest to watch during the draft, that's for sure.
Now, the teams that are not supposed to be at 500, at least teams that should not get to 500. Well, you can't do that. There's not an 8-8. There's 8-9 or 9-8. But teams that, let's say, 6 and less. The Jets, they traded Sam Darnold. The Bengals at 6.5. Texans and Jaguars 5 and 6. Broncos at 7.5. Giants and Eagles at 7. Lions at 5. Bears at 7.5. See who else we got here. The entire South is the Falcons and Panthers.
Entire division.
Matt Rule 7.5.
I think I'd maybe go. I don't know.
What were they, 5 and 11? Isn't that what they ended up with?
I think I might go over on that
because of his year 2 builds of where he's been.
Yeah, and just because they'll have a better quarterback, they'll have better players overall. So I might actually go I might feel comfortable thinking they could win 9 out of 17 games next year.
And then the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, the lowest among the NFC West, with 3 teams at 10+, and the Cardinals at 8 in year 2 of the next year. They were pretty good at times last year.
Who, the Cardinals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get, a little bit better on defense, and they could always, add more weapons, but I think they're going to be pretty good. I think Kyler and Kingsbury is a pretty good combination. So I would not be surprised to see them take a step up.
All right, at 5 o'clock today, we'll have David Hellman. Rashad Robinson had been suspended for 2 games for violating NFL policy on performance-enhancing drugs. There's also the, who's going to be available, what will they do at 10? It looks like the best defensive player could still be on the board. We'll get into that with him. But coming up next, Baylor.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
A pretty major event in the U.S. right now going on. There's been a verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. And would you like me to pass that along for those traveling right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Guilty second-degree murder, guilty third-degree murder, guilty second-degree manslaughter, guilty on all 3 charges. So there is the outcome in the George Floyd trial, which has obviously been of top, headlines and news and everything for months and months, but especially you've seen it ramp up with the trial and people very eager to await the outcome of it. Well, the outcome is here, and so guilty on all 3 counts. Just wanted to pass that along because I know that's, obviously something a lot of people are paying attention to.
Well, you know the reaction to it either way. There was always a little bit of that. So, again, Derek Chauvin, all 3 charges, he's found guilty in certain ways. When we come back, we'll hear from Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, on many things. SicEm365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, cat skin leather seats. How about this? You have a nice SUV or you have a nice truck, but the seats are, either you don't like them quite the way you want them, even though that's how you bought it, or they've kind of worn out. When I had the Tahoe, you don't even want to know what the covers of my seats looked like. It looked like they had been just destroyed by rats. There was so many holes and beat up, but it was comfortable. But still, you had foam in certain places sticking out. I'm not talking about that. But if, in fact, that's your case as well, Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Jay Arrett, Baylor alum, his wife Carol, they have cat skin leather. They're a cat skin dealer, and they're also authorized to be a cat skin installer because they know what they're doing. On the website, createacommotion.com, and believe me, Jay Arrett, when he took over that business, createacommotion.com has been fantastic with a lot of his promotions. Some of them are funny, tongue-in-cheek, and some of them are just downright that shows you what they do great or well. But you could also go to the website, createacommotion.com, and look at the process of peeling out the seats, putting on cat skin leather from whatever colors, numerous options of colors, what kind of stitching you want as well. And it shows you how it's done. At Pickup Outfitters, your home for pickup truck and SUV and minivan accessories and cat skin leather seats at 220 Lake Air Drive and createacommotion.com. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screen screens available, touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, here we go, 422, SicEm365 Radio. Craig's off the radar at 4:45. Football practice today. Kevin Curtis will be available.
Well, actually, they're doing both coaches that were scheduled for this week, so there will be no media on Thursday. So we're just going to get the last session today with Kevin Curtis and
Chancey Stuckey?
Yeah, Chancey Stuckey.
All right, that's today at practice, and we'll have that for tomorrow. And also, I'm sitting down to visit with Eric Mateos tomorrow. But right now, joined by Baylor's Director of Athletics and Mack Rhoades on SicEm365 Radio with Craig Smoak and David Smoak. Paul out until next week. So how much would it cost me to get a piece of that Final Four court?
A lot. Probably whatever the normal price is times 2. So,
is that something that you guys have already made the purchase order or what?
We're in the process of. So, I probably haven't been updated in the last since Monday, but we made a decision that. Something that we wanted to go ahead and do, and so we put those wheels in motion late last week, either Thursday or Friday.
Now, when you do that, obviously you could put that where you want in some place, facility, whatever, hold on to it, whatever. But is there ever anything other, like parts of the court that you would not use, you could put on like sale for the Bear Foundation or donors?
Yeah, I mean, those are all possibilities, great ideas. I think one, you have a short-term time frame to make a decision and commitment to purchase, and we were able to do it for a great price, and then we feel like we've got a little bit of time to decide what we really do with it. So we'll find a place to put it, store it. Do we offer pieces to donors and use it as a little bit of a fundraiser for our Bear Foundation for student athlete scholarships? When we think about the new pavilion, is there a place for it? Somewhere there. So a lot of different ideas. We haven't settled on one idea yet, and there may be a variety of things we end up doing with it.
Spring game on Saturday, and that's going to be great there. I know you've been to a couple of the practices, and you were talking about that when you got back from the tournament. You had the 50% capacity, and I think you've mentioned maybe it can go higher. When do you think you'll need to say whether it's 75% or 100%? Because then that means ticket sales, and that means whoever deferred and how that is thrown into the mix. Is there any timeline for that?
It's a great question, and I don't know. I don't know that there is a specific time frame right now. I think we're still, obviously, I think we're all keeping an eye on the pandemic, the numbers, the number of people that have been vaccinated, right? What is herd immunity? When do we get there? I'd be hopeful, Smoak, that as we enter into the summer, right, late spring, early summer, that we'd have a really good idea so that we could be able to communicate that. Again, nothing's changed for us. We're still hopeful, 75% or greater. Would like to potentially hope and think that we could get to 100% and do that safely. So still monitoring, and again, our target is no worse than 75%.
Okay.
Mack, I don't know how much attention you might have paid to this Super Soccer League that was formed a couple of days ago, and now 2 days later is already starting to fall apart with 15, select teams, and they were going to add a couple of others to make this European Soccer League. It looks like it's not going to happen now because a couple of teams have withdrawn, but this was all geared towards just, money and TV and all of that. How much did college football officials or people like yourself kind of have their eyebrows raised when they saw that soccer announcement initially, if at all?
Craig, I'm sorry, but I think I'd be disingenuous to try to answer it because I really haven't followed it. There just seems to be a lot of startups, and the most recent was prior to this was football. Last name McMahon. A lot of
XFL.
Yeah, a lot of financial backing, and again, COVID hits at the wrong time, and doesn't make it, and the sustainability, the effort to new product, professional product, whether it's football, soccer. I think there's a lot of obstacles. It's really hard to do, and I think because of the leagues, right? The professional leagues that are in place. I mean, pretty entrenched in, just how much space is out there for other ideas, other opportunities. I feel like, that's trying to thread a needle, and you've got to hit it perfect. You've got to be able to make sure timing is correct. And I just, again, I know nothing about it, but I don't know that I'd be trying to start anything new at this time where we are, particularly when we think about pandemic.
Mack Rhoades with us on SicEm365 Radio, David Smoak and Craig Smoak. And I got to ask you this question, and only because I would be foolish if I didn't. Kim Mulkey has been an incredible success story at Baylor. She was on a station in Louisiana last week, and they have an opening for a job at LSU. And it wasn't as if she said she was interested. I listened to it. It also wasn't as if she said she would not take it. Has that created any kind of friction within the athletic administration department?
No, not at all. I think Kim is transparent and honest, and I'd like to think that we, the administration, are as well, and I know we are. That's the way we operate. It's the way I operate, and I'm still waiting to hear, unless it's happened today. But as far as I can tell, LSU still has a women's basketball coach. Now, I know all of the reports, but I've not seen any type of official resignation, at least to this point in time. Obviously, it's an intriguing story because of where Kim's from, and that's home. If that opening does eventually occur, and LSU has interest, we'll handle it appropriate. We'll be transparent. I'm sure we'll have great conversation. I think Baylor University, Baylor Athletics supports women's basketball at a really, really high level. I do know, because I know the data, I know the numbers. I don't think any that supports it at the level that we do. We've a commitment to it, and that commitment was made long before I got here, and we've continued it. And we've even increased it. So, we'll see. But if that happens, and if there is an actual opening, and if LSU has an interest, then we'll handle it appropriately.
You lose money with women's basketball. They have their core fan base, and it's huge, and we know that as well. And they are elite with all the other schools, and she just won, in fact, the national title a couple of years ago. Can you think, you kind of mentioned this, other than UConn, is there anyone else that commits more money in support of women's basketball than Baylor?
If there is, Smoke, just transparent, I don't know about it. I think when you look at all things, salary, operational budget, which includes travel, recruiting, equipment, all of those things. I've mentioned salary, but not just head coach. Everybody thinks about head coach, but also assistant, pool, numbers of personnel. I don't know that anybody that supports it at the level we do.
Have you spoken to her since last week?
Yeah. We've talked about a lot of other things. I think the whole LSU thing, at least at this point in time, is a non-story.
Okay. All right, so you have a tennis coach who just won a piece of the Big 12 championship in Michael Woodson, who, of course, is the interim after Coach Bowen left. He then takes over. How long does an interim stay as a part of a term, or I guess a title of a coach, when you have success? Is there an actual timeline that needs to be met, or is that something that's your decision?
Yeah, there's no actual timeline. I think it's a fair question. I think it's probably a question that Coach Woodson would love to ask. And maybe he called you and asked you to ask it for him. But no, I think it's a fair question. And first and foremost, what a great job, he has done in terms of that transition. And Isak is our assistant coach. They both have done just an incredible job, and to be able to, turn around and win a share of the Big 12 championship. So, and, be ranked as high as number 2 in the country. So, we've had conversations with Coach Woodson and Kenny Boyd, the sport program administrator for men's tennis, and the three of us had a chance to meet recently and talk about future of the program. And I would suspect here very, very shortly we'll make a decision. In all fairness to him and Vanessa and our young men, we want to do that in a timely manner, and so I would expect us to do something here very shortly.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics with Baylor. Kansas State's head coach, Chris Kleiman, said that he's going to leave 10 spots of his 25-man recruiting class annually open for the transfer portal. Now, you have Dennis Polian, who's come on, and he kind of like maybe even a roster management among many others. That seems like that's a huge number, and that also seems like that would be a little bit concerning if I was a high school football player.
Yeah, so somebody sent me that text or that tweet yesterday, and my initial reaction, I've got great respect for the Kansas State folks. Gene Taylor, the AD, is awesome, and I think Coach Kleiman is his record speaks for itself. He's a terrific football coach. But my initial reaction was, wow, that seems like a lot. And then you start really processing it and thinking about it, and the world that we're beginning to enter, with the one-time transfer now, and again, the Board of Governors still have to approve that, but there's no indication that they will not. So that here very shortly you're going to be able to transfer in those 5 sports: football, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and wrestling, and not having to sit out a year. So that may be the reality. That may be the reality, that there's that much shifting and moving around that, it requires you to keep, 10 spots, 10 scholarships, open. I think we're going to find out soon. And, I don't know if it's 10, but I do know every head football coach in the country is having the conversation. How many do we leave open? Because there is going to be, this proliferation, I think, of movement. And now all of a sudden you have an injury in spring, or you're a little bit thin on the offensive line. Now who's in the transfer portal? We can go get that person, right? That's not a true freshman. That's it's sophomore, junior. They've been in the weight room. They're ready to play. Oh, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays.
Mack, I know you guys are coming off the high of the NCAA championship, and a lot of teams are having success. How difficult was last week that you have a parade and then you had to deal with the promotion of someone who's I know very, very well, and also a car dealership that's an incredible sponsor of ours and of Baylor, among others. How difficult was the week last week after the parade?
It was I use the word unfortunate, and it hurt a lot of people, and it rightly so. I mean, it was something that shouldn't have been said, and I do want to say this, on the radio. I am grateful to Ted Teague for the way he handled it. He didn't make one excuse from the very moment. Said he was wrong, and I know that Coach Drew and I certainly appreciate that. But it was tough. It was tough because all of the excitement, all of the momentum, and then you have to deal with that the next day, and we made the decision that we felt was best and right for Baylor athletics and for the people out there that his comments hurt, and again, something that we obviously strongly didn't believe in, hopefully everybody learns from it, and that there's some grace and forgiveness, but that everybody learns from it, and we move on.
Mack, I know that one of the things with the NCAA from the past and the football program back 4, 5, 6 years ago or whenever, that one of the things I've always thought of is that no decision is actually almost like a negative because it can be used against you. Is there a timeline of what you expect? Have you heard? I know you can't say much, but are you expecting anything anytime soon from the NCAA?
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I think we're waiting, and at least it's our belief, and it's not that we've received any type of communication, because and even if we had, I couldn't speak to it, but we haven't. It's our belief that there's this window, at least in my mind, I'm thinking, that window, if it wasn't before the NCAA tournament, then it's, right after the NCAA tournament, and it's, more than likely sometime before we enter into the summer months. That's just my thought process. So we'll see if that happens. But, I think realistically, there's a possibility that it could happen any moment.
Now, Craig had brought up the Super League, and I wanted to give him a chance to kind of explain that, because he was kind of like using that as an example of what could happen with college athletics, with what's going on in soccer in Europe.
Yeah, basically, Mac, like the top 15 teams from England, and they didn't reel in the German and the French teams. The idea was to make it like all of the top teams from all over Europe, and they would play together in one like 16-team Super League, and that's just would be the way that it was moving forward. It would affect, the English Premier League and the Spanish League. They would lose teams, and it got me thinking, because Andy Staples immediately used that logic and said, well, here's the super team or Super League I would put together for college football. And as you can imagine, that's been talked about before with realignment. That's something that got really popular, just in discussing like who would belong and who would not. So I guess that's where I was coming from, is just your thoughts on college football and realignment. And I was curious if that the soccer Super League had any sort of an impact on, the minds of college administrators and the possibility of something like that occurring in the future.
Well, Craig, I'm going to apologize because I completely went off on a different tangent.
No, you're good.
As you know, and I do apologize. I mean, my last 2 days have been absolutely packed, and I did not see that. Certainly didn't see the Andy Staples article following that announcement. But to speak to that, right? There's been a lot of conversation. Seems like it's at an all-time high right now, more than ever before, about is there this Super League, is there a play here in the future where for example, Power 5 goes and does its own thing. We do our own thing. We break away from NCAA. We do something different, own set of rules. I think again, I think if it's gonna happen, I could anticipate that it's probably this window, the next 5 years, and what's really hard to predict is how all of the forces of change right now, the name, image, and likeness, and it feels like every day a new state is introducing potential name, image, and likeness legislation. The Alston case still out there again, anticipating June. What does that do? What type of influence does it have? How does NCAA manage it? Does that catapult? Maybe it has no impact at all, but does it catapult? This idea of hey, we can't manage this and try to do this, 129 of us, all similar, all alike. There is a natural breaking point. So those are all things that I think are interesting and things that we're going to have to see what transpires, how we react. I don't think there's any play. I don't think there's any play for anything smaller than the 65 or whatever the number is in terms of the Power 5. But I do think there is some reality to this smaller group of football bowl subdivision schools, potentially some point in time, and I use the word breaking away. Maybe it's just a different division, yet another different division within the NCAA. And you got to think about how that impacts the NCAA men's basketball tournament. 350 plus Division one teams that have access to that. So it's a great question, and it's certainly a lot to think about. And just being transparent, it's probably being talked about more than it's ever been talked about within our industry.
Well, I appreciate that answer, and if you do get like 5 minutes of free time at some point,
it's amazing. Yeah,
you can read that the league started up to the complete unknown of everybody else. Like, no one in their leagues knew it was going on. They announced these 15 teams were just going to join together, and there's going to be 3 or 4 more that were going to join them, and there was never going to be any relegation. It would just be a new league, and it was going to break up tradition and history, and basically the fans fought back, and they're a big part of the reason why it's dead 2 days later, basically. So it's just interesting if you're looking for a read a little bit later.
No, I thank you for pointing it out to me. I will. I'll enjoy reading that. So completely missed that.
All right, go get some sun Saturday. The spring game. I know you're thrilled with that. I think, did I see you walking around Saturday in the open practice?
Yeah, I was there, and it's good to be there. And I like at least again it's spring, but I really like what I see, and there's a really good vibe when you're around the coaching staff, both sides of the ball. Really like what Coach Aranda's doing. I love what we're doing, off the football field in terms of strength and conditioning. Vic's done a great job, and I see our student athletes, getting faster, stronger, becoming more confident. I think we have a chance to be really good on both sides of the ball, and then. They're doing a great job in the classroom and in other areas. And so I like what we're doing and where we're headed.
Mack, thank you very much. Appreciate it today. Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics with Baylor on SicEm365 Radio on Tuesdays at 4:20, and a lot of different things to get to today, from simple things like the capacity number to, some of the things that are on the table. That's the NCAA investigation, which I know it's like, God, now all of a sudden he thinks that, or he says that you would have thought maybe before the NCAA tournament, which I'm glad it wasn't, no matter what the decisions are, to maybe before the summer months. And then there's always then you could appeal whatever it is if you feel like you need to.
Well, typical NCAA, they didn't do it, and now Baylor's won a national title in basketball they can't strip away. So the brilliant minds over there, and I just happened to notice in looking at some stories today that the NCAA can't punish Baylor or give down a verdict to whatever that may entail because they're too busy placing Youngstown State on probation for rules that happened a year ago. And there was another program that's of super importance, much bigger than the Baylor case that's been going on for 6 years now. That the NCAA, Youngstown State and UTEP, they got to knock those powers down before they get too big for themselves. So that's what the NCAA is busy with.
Like SFA. Remember they hammered SFA for
joke of an organization.
They didn't hammer North Carolina, but they got the Lumberjacks. When we come back, Craig's off the radar. David Hellman at 5 on the Cowboys in the draft, 5:20. Lars Hansen on JV on Sunday, opening a bunch of eyes up at University of Washington, and then John McClain. Lots to get to. Again today, George Floyd, the trial, Derek Chauvin found guilty on all three counts of various degrees. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people that you can count on, and right now they've got great deals going on over at Richard Carr. They have their anniversary sales event, 22 years. They've been going at it over there at Richard Carr, selling cars and trucks to the people of the Waco community and beyond. And right now, everybody can find big savings on newer pre-owned vehicles on the lot. That includes 3 big rows of first-class seating, safety, technology, a superior ride, and power. All of those things make the Enclave second to none. And during the Richard Carr anniversary sales event, you can save $8,500 on a Buick Enclave. You can right now save $8,000 on a 2021 GMC Sierra. You can save $7,000 off 2021 GMC Acadia, $6,750 off 2021 GMC Terrains, and plenty more deals where that came from. Richard Carr Motors is your local family dealer. They're proud Baylor Bears. They want to earn your business with great prices, as I mentioned, plus free oil changes with a new purchase and priority warranty service on all vehicles purchased. So come by their clean and disinfected showroom to take a test drive, or let them bring the test drive to you. It's a big 22-year anniversary sales event going on now at Richard Carr, and Richard Carr Motors says Sic'Em Bears, and congratulations to the national champion Baylor men's team.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harsh. Instead, try something like, "You know, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters." And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
All right, Craig Smoak off the radar in the late part of the 4 o'clock hour. Then a little bit later on, he's headed to Baylor football practice for a chance to visit with both Kevin Curtis and Chancey Stuckey, who we've had on this show back when they were hired. Craig?
It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right, just a couple of stories here, taking a look at some headlines or things of interest that we might not otherwise get to without this segment, just because we're so busy talking about a lot of other things. Nike and the Kobe Bryant estate are at a bit of a crossroads. Kobe Bryant, of course, passed away a bit over a year ago, tragic helicopter crash out in California on the way to go to his daughter's game. She passed, and family friends as well were in that helicopter. Well, Kobe was a big Nike guy. Very, very popular shoes, popular merchandise. He's been with Nike for the longest time, and that continued even after his passing. But it looks like that deal is finally over. Bryant's estate and Nike had different ideas of what to do with Kobe, posthumously, and the contract itself was expiring this month. So, according to The Athletic, the Kobe Bryant estate now has the opportunity to go pursue other potential merchandising deals with other brands. They could, in theory, I think Kobe was actually like Adidas maybe when he first started in the league. I want to say that's right, or Converse or something like that. So it wouldn't be foreign for him to work, for the family to work with non-Nike. But it's interesting to see kind of like where this came from. Apparently, one thing I saw, and I don't know exactly how valid it is, but Nike, I think, was more in mind of having like limited edition stuff, and making it super premium and expensive and everything else. And I think the Bryant family, or Vanessa, his wife, was more of like, no, I want everybody to be able to buy his stuff. So I think that was, from what I had read, that was where one little discrepancy had come in. And I think that also just she's looking for the lifetime, like his legacy will forever be a Nike athlete, and I don't think Nike has that in mind, signing him to a lifetime deal for whatever reason. So, he did actually sign with Adidas coming out of high school, so I was right about that. So, basically, Kobe and Nike, the Kobe estate and Nike have split ways, and we will see where it goes from there.
I don't know what to think about this. I'm not, and I don't know, because I don't know the background here, but I would have thought Nike would have continued something with Kobe. And then again, being respectful here, I don't know what the demands were from his wife, Vanessa, and also those who represent the Kobe Bryant estate. I don't know. But, again, sometimes people want more than you think. I wish there was still Kobe with Nike, but again, it's a business, and so they move on.
Yeah, and I guess for some people, a lot of people have sentiment for brands and things like that. So I guess if you're a Nike person or whatever, then maybe that's a bummer to you that you can't buy Kobe merchandise anymore. But yeah, Kobe and Kobe's estate, I have to keep reminding myself to say that. And there basically is hardly little to any merchandise to buy. Now, Jack, did you have anything interesting to comment on this? Because I mean that's basically the gist of it. It's not some super controversial story, but it is interesting that Nike apparently had different ideas in mind for what they were going to do. So instead, they will go their separate ways, and we will see what comes out of that. Conor McGregor, I usually always have a UFC note. He's getting ready to fight Dustin Poirier in a trilogy at UFC 264. Poirier won the last fight convincingly. McGregor won the first one years ago, and they're going to have the rematch in much quicker fashion than they had the last rematch. sold out in seconds. As you might imagine. Last Friday, they're expecting a crowd of nearly 21,000 for the fight between McGregor and Dustin Poirier. It'll be the third UFC event that will be entirely open to fans. They held the 261 event in Jacksonville, which has basically remained open all throughout the pandemic, quite frankly, the city of Jacksonville has. And UFC 262 in Houston was another comeback event, so won't know the final attendance till the night of, but McGregor is still a seller. People want to see him fight Poirier, so 21,000 approximately expected for the big card on July the 10th.
You know, he got beat up pretty good, and I'm starting to wonder. I know he could get himself maybe even better shape or whatever, but you start to lose that invincibility, which he's already done. I'm thinking either he pulls off a massive, incredible win, or he gets destroyed even faster.
Yes, I mean, it's going to go. He's either going to win, and it'll have to have been a good win, I would think, to beat Dustin Poirier, because they're just kind of at two different phases, or Conor's just not in the phase that he was. But he is still in very high demand. There's no doubt about that. So nearly 21,000 sold out in seconds, and that will be coming up in July, the big Poirier and McGregor fight. And then one other note that I had here was, let's see, Deion Sanders. There was a lot of talk about, what he was going to do as the head coach at Jackson State, how impactful that was going to be and everything. Well, did you realize that their season's already over? They had their final game canceled due to COVID-19 protocols. So Jackson State, with Deion Sanders as head coach, not able to finish their inaugural season with him. They were supposed to play Prairie View A&M, but protocols and contact tracing canceled that. So they had another forfeit, and they end the season at 4-3 and 3-2 in SWAC play. So started out 3-0, and then it's a COVID year, so who the heck knows? They might have lost their best players or whatever. But I remember, the juice that kind of came up when, it was announced that he was going to be the head coach at Jackson State, and it was a big deal, for him to make that move. So his inaugural season is over, and I guess they'll turn right around like Mary Hardin Baylor and get basically right back to it to get, prepared for the fall season.
Yeah, I think I'll see where they are 2022. Maybe they have a little surge, but we'll see where they are. And it's also about sustainability, not just the initial, oh, that's great because Deion's the coach, and is he there long term? It appears as if I think he truly is.
Well, it's also the impact that it potentially has on the HBCUs and whether or not that's something that can actually get
off the ground.
Yeah, basically.
Or back to at least competitive, and also a part of the conversation.
Mattering in the conversation of college football. Yeah. So just wanted to wrap up Deion's first season there, as he will not get a finale because of COVID, and that's a couple of things that are off the radar.
All right, Craig. Thank you. 4:45. It's 5:00. We'll hear from David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. A couple of things to get to. Plus, the draft is a week from tomorrow night. It's a week from tomorrow night, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. That plus also Lars Hansen on Washington and JV on Sunday's impact so far with the Huskies at spring drills, and then John McClain.
Real quick, Arsenal dropped out of the Super League. I should have mentioned that as well. So that thing is pretty close to toast already 2 days in, because if Arsenal, Chelsea, they're not involved, I don't see the future for it. So that just happened as well.
Yep, they're falling apart before they actually ever got together. This is SicEm365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it. And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Here is Pollard all the way in for 6.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. We're a week basically away from the NFL draft. A lot to get to. David Hellman all over it. This is Christmas. This is kind of like that week before Christmas for David Hellman, or New Year's, or both, or before LSU's about to play for a football national championship. So, all right, David, let's start the Rashad Robinson news as far as a 2-game suspension, PEDs, whatever it might be. Is that like water off a duck's back? Does that affect anything? Your thoughts?
I mean, it happens. It's obviously not ideal, I guess, but you're talking about the 4th, maybe 5th cornerback on the depth chart, and that's before the draft, where we expect they'll add 1 or 2 potentially, high impact guys. So, Rashad Robinson, I don't even know if it was a guarantee he makes the team in training camp. So maybe not ideal, but it's certainly not something that I'm losing sleep about.
The fact that everybody in front of Dallas appears as if they're going to draft somebody on offense, although there might be some surprises and all this infatuation, of course, with the quarterback position. If in fact that happens, who is the offensive player that might be available that they might be tempted where they would not draft somebody on defense?
I think there's 3 guys, but I really think there's 1. It's the 2 offensive tackles, Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. Obviously, you didn't have your starting tackles for most of last season. Tyron Smith has missed at least 3 games in 5 straight years. It makes a lot of sense that, if a guy like that falls to you at 10, it'd be awfully tempting to shore up your tackle depth. And then the other one is obviously Kyle Pitts, the Florida tight end, who, maybe the word generational gets thrown around a little too often, but guys like him don't come around every year. He certainly, he seems like a once every 10 or 20 years kind of prospect to me. So those are the three, and I really think it's Pitts. And that's not just because Jerry Jones, said publicly that he was infatuated with him. I think everybody in the league is infatuated with him. But again, at the 10th overall pick, when you have a chance to make a value pick like that, I think they would do it. But I also don't think he'll fall that far. So, but those are the names. If they're not going to draft a defender, I think it would be one of those three.
David, what percentage would you put on the Cowboys getting an offer enticing enough to trade back?
Maybe I would put it at like 30%, because I think you need a few things to happen. Like, I think you need the right guy to fall to you. You need a team to want that guy. And then you need the price to be enough to get the Cowboys to move away from what you would guess is going to be a really good player. Like, forget the offensive side, even if it's defense. We know they've been zeroed in on Patrick Surtain and Jason Horn for this entire thing. A lot of noise about Micah Parsons as well. Any of those three guys you would imagine is a day one starter and a guy that can really help you kickstart this defensive rebuild right away. And so if you're going to move away from that, I think the price has got to be absolutely right. So I think it's possible, maybe a Mac Jones or a Justin Fields slides to 10 and makes somebody do something drastic. But, I think it's easier to bet against that than for it. The Cowboys haven't traded down in the first round in almost a decade. And I think it's possible, but I wouldn't bank on it.
How do you kind of grade this draft as far as depth? I feel like I've seen a lot of articles, that state about once you get past about the halfway point. I guess it's always a wild card anyways when you get into like 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. But what's kind of the draft depth this year as you view it?
Fortunately for the Cow, some of these, it works against them a little bit. I think we've talked a lot about the edge rusher situation is not ideal. Obviously, the Cowboys don't have a ton of depth behind Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't think there's a ton there that would get you inspired. There's been a lot of talk about how bad this defensive tackle class is, but I do think, fortunately for them, I think there's a lot of good safeties in this class. I think there's, I think there's good cornerback depth. If for some reason you can't get your guy at 10, I think there's plenty of ways they could address that later on. And then the big one for me, we talk so much about how much the linebackers struggled for this team last year. I think there's more good linebackers in this class than you could shake a stick at, whether that's, if they wanted to draft Parsons at 10, I don't think I would do that. But then, there's about 8 guys that I think you could get on day 2 that would get me really excited. And then there's, more guys down the line on day 3. So I think they'll have a good opportunity to address that all 3 days if they want to.
David, if you were to walk in have you ever seen the big board of a franchise? I know that sometimes they might give people a glance and sometimes they don't want to have anyone see. But have you actually been inside like the big room, the board that they set for the draft?
I have on a couple of occasions, not since they moved out of the old facility. Things have gotten a little more secretive at the new, the shiny new place. But back at Valley Ranch, I stole a couple glimpses over the years.
Can you kind of describe what it looks like?
Yeah, it looks like. It makes me kind of think of like, if you go back to like your high school science class with the big periodic table sitting up in front of the class, like the one that takes up the entire wall. Because it does. It takes up the entire wall. It's usually like it's a big dry erase board. Mm-hmm. Typically you've got like it's very neatly labeled. It's color coded. Blue means that a guy's like a can't miss prospect. Red typically is like an injury or a character concern. And obviously, it's going to be different for every front office. It's not like there's a uniform template for how this works, but it is a shocking amount of information. And then on top of that, I think the thing that would surprise a lot of fans is it's a lot more condensed than you might expect. That's what I always try to explain to people is, you and me and everybody else, we're going to talk about all of these players. But by the time it comes down to pick, these teams have zeroed in on like a fraction of that. There might be 100 guys that the Cowboys would consider picking, and obviously there's 259 picks, and every team is like that. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating is, we're gonna, the quarterbacks are a great example. There's 5 big ones, but every team in the league might only like 2 of them, and it's anybody's guess what the 2 are. And that's what makes it so fun is that, the Cowboys might have a first-round grade on somebody, and the team next door has a fourth-round grade. Or the Cowboys might have a fourth-round grade on a guy that gets picked in the top 20. The variance is so staggering across the league, and I think that's what makes it so much fun.
David, what do you think of the big NFL and Hulu announcement from yesterday? How do you see this kind of changing? I guess it's going to change the way people watch, but how do you see this just having a bigger effect on the game of football moving forward?
Anything that moves the NFL into the 21st century is great news for me. Because, and I get it. The TV contracts are so valuable. We saw those numbers come out last month, and it's worth a staggering amount of money. But, I'm like any other millennial. Like, I digest all my content online. I would cut the cord if I could. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. So, I'm just begging. And, MLB season just started. Every year I buy, the MLB package where you can get every game. I'd like to believe we're not very far away from a day when you can, send the NFL $300 and be able to stream all the games on any device you want. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's just a sign of progress. So I'm definitely in favor of that.
David, is this Christmas for you?
It is. I think that's a great way of putting it. Is at this point, and I don't begrudge anybody else. Obviously, this is the time of year where everybody gets into the draft, and I love it. I definitely want people to be interested in the draft. But those of us that do this as part of our jobs, we've been talking about these guys since late December. So for me, it's kind of all right, let's get through this week and let's just get to Thursday night so we can see what actually happens. Because I think at this point, for me, all the hay's in the barn. I'm not part of the front office. I don't have to interview these guys. I don't have to do any last minute checks on background or anything like that. I'm ready to hear the names go off the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm a little antsy right now, and I'm just kind of waiting to get through this week. But I'll be really excited when draft night finally rolls around.
All right, man. Thank you very much, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, with us Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. Appreciate his time. We'll have Lars Hansen on JV on Sunday. There's been a lot of chatter about him up in Washington. I did see a picture of the Baylor men's basketball staff was at the county courthouse, I think it was, the commissioner court, whatever it was. They had some proclamation for them as well. So that's that. As well from earlier today. And then Rob Harris on his Twitter feed, all 6 English clubs have now backed out of the Super League. Manchester United and Spurs just quit too. And maybe that's something you guys mentioned earlier.
Well, I mentioned Arsenal. And if Man U is in fact, it's done. It's not going to happen. The Super League is dead, and it didn't even live for 48 hours. It's done. You just can't do it without some of these teams that have pulled out, and all the English teams are pulling out. So, yeah, and I found it very interesting that Arsenal, who is one of the better historic clubs, but they came out with a statement. Think about, I don't know, it's just weird to hear from a professional sports team, but it kind of tells you how important this was to fans of soccer, that this not follow through. And, it'd be great if you're one of the fans of the 15 teams that were going to be involved, or the up to what, Jack, were they going to be up to 18 with another 3 they were going to add, I think? They were going to get 17, 18 teams, right?
It was 12 that did join, and they were looking for 15.
Okay, they're looking for 15. Okay, I'm glad you corrected that for me. So, yeah, I just – now half of them are gone. There's no way to make this work. And Arsenal's statement, as a result of listening to you and the wider football community over recent days, we are withdrawing from the proposed Super League. We made a mistake, and we apologize for it. That was from Arsenal.
Yeah, but not all of them have apologized. Just said we've just listened to the fans, and now.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah. That's why I'm saying it, though. I think that's kind of cool that they apologize to their fans for even trying to do this. But yeah, it's dead now.
Craig is about to leave for football practice. Chancey Stuckey and also Kevin Curtis will be available. I'm meeting tomorrow with Eric Mateos for something we'll have for tomorrow. And then on top of that, of course, the spring game is coming up on Saturday. Lars Hansen, he covers the University of Washington football team, UW Dog Report, Rivals, Yahoo Sports, and more. JV on Sunday is getting a lot of chatter. Dave Softy Mahler, who we know in Seattle radio, he's a great friend of the show. Got to meet him the first time when Baylor and RG3 and Terrence Ganaway had that shootout with Washington. Known him for 10 years. He's having Shane Anderson on his show. I think it might be today or tomorrow because of the JV on Sunday impact at spring drills. And so Lars Hansen will talk about it next. Then John McClain, 535 Sic'em. 365 Radio.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rhoades Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rhoades group meal.
Next in line. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
All right, John McClain, Hall of Fame rider, will join us in the next segment on the draft, which is a week away from tomorrow night, on the Texans and much more. And, of course, he always has something on his alma mater in Baylor. Lars Hansen, I've been kind of watching him, following him. He covers University of Washington, Rivals, Yahoo Sports, UW Dog Report, much more. And you've seen the chatter the last couple of weekends about former Connolly Cadet star, All-State, record-breaking running back Javion Sunday. And Lars Hansen joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. So, Lars, is this just kind of the typical chatter because it's spring drills, or is this built to a crescendo that the Javion Sunday watch is in effect?
Well, I would say that it's probably the beginning of the watch effect. I don't think it's something to say, at this point, he should be, the number one or the number two guy. But given how last season, unfortunately, went in the Pac-12 and Washington was only able to play 4 games, Sunday wasn't able to really do anything last year. And to be able to come out so early on in spring and really and literally and figuratively make a name for himself, I think it's certainly something to watch for fans down there. There's no doubt this is just the beginning for him at Washington. He's nowhere near his ceiling by any stretch.
Tasmanian Devil? Did I see you refer to him as the Tasmanian Devil?
So that's what Sean McGrew, one of the 2 senior running backs, said is his nickname at Washington, just because he's that guy who, so on day 3 of spring practice, he was high stepping after about a 20, 25-yard run. And Cameron Williams, who's a sophomore junior safety, Davion lowered his shoulder into him, and it kind of was like, oh. And it's kind of one of those plays where it's like, hey, I'm here. I'm here to make a name for myself. But I think it was two practices later, another senior safety to return the shoulder back to Javion. But it was kind of a cool moment because what Keith Bonaparte, the running backs coach, said, who's the primary recruiter for him, was that that's the kind of energy you want. You want to see a kid really rile up and test the defense, and the defense loved it. So I think it's kind of a win-win all around for the program. That's what Davion.
So the expectations Washington has had, obviously, it's a very nice, really good college football program. They've had lots of studs come out of their school. We saw Javion when he was a high school player. He's a man among boys, and he broke records, and he was really, really good, and he's been compared to a lot of other great running backs that have come out of the state of Texas. What were the expectations? I always thought that he was going to have to marinate. That's my, the first year, red shirt, whatever you want to call it, although those you never know about the COVID rules, what that means anymore. But it was going to take him a while for him to settle in. That's a long way to be away from home. What were the expectations for him?
Yeah, I think that's actually a perfect way to put it, because what really sold him on the program and also his coach, one of the things that really impressed him was how Keith Bonaparte develops running backs. And so it's not just about if you do or don't come in day one, and because in today's day and age, if kids aren't getting carries right away, it almost seems like the transfer portal is right there to leave. But one thing that Washington prides itself on is developing next year, take the next step, the next step. And so ironically for Javion, that's what they've been saying this spring, and this is his second year in the program. So that's a testament to his talent. And I think he kind of, in a weird way, came in somehow under the radar. I don't know how that's really the case, but that's kind of almost the way Washington likes to deal with their running backs, where they're not 4 or 5-star guys, but they have the exact talent to be that rating. And they come on campus, have to get a little bit bigger in the program, add maybe 10 or 15 pounds, and they're ready to be a college running back, and nobody's seen him. So I think that's exactly kind of the way Javion is shaping his track at Washington. What is the depth chart at running back if you had one right now? Right now, so Cameron Williams, who's a sophomore, redshirt freshman, depends on, again, like you said, on how the eligibility goes. He's been taking the bulk of the first team carries. Richard Newton was one of the primary backs back in 2019. He hasn't been able to do much because he had 2 false positive COVID tests the first few days of practice. So he was actually withheld, and he came back for one, and they took him back again. And so he's kind of struggled to get going. And Javion kind of ironically taking his carries. And so the way the depth chart is now, you'd have 2 senior backs that Sean McGrew and Kamari Pleasant. Not 100% sure what the expectations are for Pleasant. McGrew's kind of a guy who's more of a scat back, kind of do a little bit of both. So if I had to peg it, I would say Cameron Davis, Sean McGrew, and then you can kind of have a dogfight between Sunday, Richard Newton, Kamari Pleasant, maybe even Sam Adams if he's able to get his nose in there for that third running back spot, which is kind of wide open at this point.
I reached out to the University of Washington Media Relations, and because we do that with players that go on to other places, and we get them on the radio or we get a chance to have them. But he's a freshman. I mean, he's basically a redshirt freshman, has never had an official stat yet. Has he been available yet to talk to the media, or is that not until he can maybe talk this fall?
Yeah, he hasn't been made available to the media, and the way UW runs it is basically it's very rare that freshmen will ever talk to the media no matter what, even if they're playing. That's just kind of the way they do things.
Sure.
But especially for JV, basically the expectations are like if you're not a starter or if you haven't had at least one college start, you're not going to be made available to the media. But that's like to your point. He could make if he starts to make a name for himself in fall camp and gets a few games under his belt, especially like let's say if he's able to play against Michigan or even just get a handful of carries. That I think will kind of start, going back to what you said, kind of the Sunday watch of his career at Washington.
So, Washington has been on occasion in the conversation about the college football playoff. 10-4, what was it, 3 years ago, then 8-5, then last year got blown up because of COVID and the late start from the Pac-12. Lars, what was that like? Because where we are, obviously, the Big 12 went ahead. Now, there were games canceled, postponed, some made up or whatever, but most of the time, everybody got in. Baylor, for example, got in 9 games. Some got in more than that. What was that like? And how much of what will happen this fall, you hope, give everybody like a thirst even more so than normal for college football?
Yeah, it was very difficult, I would say, for a lot of people. I mean, the players only got 4 games because of, after the Stanford game, you got about a few guys test positive, and then a few more, and then all of a sudden the entire, I think by the week of the Apple Cup, which is late November, kind of the weekend of Thanksgiving, the entire team was in quarantine, the entire roster. So when they're getting ready to play their annual traditional rivalry game of the year, they're now locked in their dorm room or their apartment, can't hang out with anyone, can't hang out with girlfriends or what have you. And so it really kind of, I think, really affected the players and coaches, more than anything else. And from a fan's perspective, obviously, they were robbed of getting a chance to see their team at all. And, the players that mentioned it this spring, they could hear guys on the sidelines, shouting certain things during the game, which is something they've never had before because usually there's 70,000 fans screaming and there's no chance of guys hearing anything. So it was a very weird year all around. And, this fall kind of needs to, I don't know how they can do it exactly, but it kind of needs to be where the fans are almost going to return, not just, hey, we have football back. No, it really is back. I kind of need to go over and above and beyond. And, I'm curious to see how each Pac-12 school kind of goes about doing that. This spring they've gotten a head start by opening it up to fans, very sparsely. But I don't. The Pac-12 is very, very stringent, and it's unfortunate. It makes sense on a couple of levels, but it's kind of what the Pac-12 perception nationally does. It can get a little overblown, but the Pac-12 does deserve it on a lot of levels.
So, final question for you: the Washington with obviously JV on Sunday. These 2 weekends, I've seen some things you put out there. Dave Softy Mahler, we've known him for about 10 years since Washington played Baylor, and I've gotten to know him, and we know he's crazy as hell. He's a great friend of ours. But so, what's the timeline? Is there a spring game? Is there 2 weeks left? 4 weeks left? What's the status as far as spring drills for Washington?
Yeah, so they're on the back half of spring ball. I believe they have 6 practices left before the spring game, which is on May 1st. Traditionally, in years past, Washington has not had anywhere near close to anything of a spring game, and it's just kind of been a bona fide practice, with a little bit more scrimmaging, and that was the way Chris Peterson ran the program. And then Jimmy Lake took over after the 2019 season, and then COVID hit, so he wasn't even able to actually have a spring practice or spring ball last year. So this is his first spring. And he has made it clear that he wants to have a spring game. So hopefully there will be an actual spring game, 4 quarters or at least some form of that on May 1st. But they are on the back half of spring ball at this point.
Thank you, Lars. Appreciate it, man. Anytime you need us on any more digging into JV on Sunday, let us know, and good luck. We wish him the best. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
Lars Hanson. It's at Lars Hanson, just like you'd spell it, LarsHanson. Covers University of Washington for Rivals, Yahoo, and UW Dog Report, always available. And again, Shane Anderson did a great job with helping cultivate JV on Sunday and also getting him attached, making sure that he's got his feet on the ground at Washington, and now he's showing what he's capable of. He's a phenomenal player. I was asked this question by Dave Softy Mahler. He does radio in Seattle. Top 5 best ever players from Connolly High School who played at a high level in college. Now, I know that there's been some that have gone to Oklahoma State. There's been some that have been, oh my goodness, Baker. Troy Baker, the offensive lineman, was a 2 or 3 year starter at Baylor. But who are the elite of those who have come out of Connolly High School at the college level that might be someone who nationally might go, oh, okay, I'll know him, you'll know him, but will somebody in Seattle know the name? Other than right now with what they hear from JV on Sunday. Coming up next, John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. What a day. If you missed our conversation with Mack Rhoades, we discussed many things with him, including what he mentioned to us about the timeline with the NCAA. Just thinking, who knows? And I'm sure it maybe is now finally sooner rather than later. And the sooner the better, just to move on, whatever might come down. He thought maybe they'd hear something before the tournament. Well, now it might be, he hopes, before the summer months, although if he knew something, he couldn't really tell us about it because you can't really share that information. But so that's that. Also, there's so much chatter on the site. I see it. I read it. I hear it. A lot of you ask me with Kim Mulkey in her interview in Baton Rouge, and at least a little bit of what you could consider a tease about the job at LSU. I asked Mack Rhoades about that straight up. We've invited Coach Mulkey to come on the show at some point whenever she's ready to discuss it. I'm not sure if that happens or not. I do know this about Kim, and there's no question that man, you look at the lightning rod of up and down whenever she says much of anything, but I do sometimes think that when she's on a station in Baton Rouge, she doesn't understand that could be on anywhere, that the internet is now the galaxy. An example is when she made the comment after the West Virginia game 4 years ago or 5 years ago about defending Baylor, punched somebody in the face, whatever that was. And I was on Outside the Lines on ESPN that Monday with a couple of people and kind of helped not calm that down, but settled it down a little bit. Because, of course, back then, whatever she said or anything Baylor, it was like pitchforks and whatever else. When she says things, when she's on in Baton Rouge, I don't know if she understands that. When she said that about West Virginia, or not about West Virginia, after West Virginia, that the everything now is immediate. That's why you see so many stories. We mentioned earlier the verdict of Derek Chauvin, guilty on all 3 counts for the murder of George Floyd. Phones, videos, everything is immediate. It's instant. In a lot of ways, it's great. In a lot of ways, it's, oh, my God. So I think sometimes that she gets caught up in not realizing that what she says in Waco could be heard in L.A., what she says in Baton Rouge can be heard in Waco. And so there's a little bit of that. Mack has said he talked to her a little bit. Not so much about that, but I'm sure that did come up. We're not naive. Also, the court, the Final Four court's going to come somehow to Waco. They're going to get that done. And yes, pieces of that, which I told you about even the day after the game when they beat Gonzaga, could be available to people who want to buy a piece of the court. How it works out, I don't know. How much it is, I don't know. How many pieces you can buy, I don't know. But that's going to work out. And a few other things, including football, spring drills, and whatever else. When we come back, John McClain, SicEm365 Radio.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way, with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
I keep saying the draft is a week from tomorrow. It's a week from Thursday. Is that right? Yeah, April the 29th through Saturday, May the 1st. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, covers the Texans. He covers the National Football League. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. John, it's an easy, it's a simple, it's a generic question, but the Texans obviously have a lot of needs. They have a certain amount of picks, and they don't have some of them. What do you feel like has to be, when they are done, 2 or 3 positions that they have somebody that might be a starter or helps them out?
They don't have their picks in the first and second round to complete the trade for Laramie Tunsil and receiver Kenny Stills. They picked 67th overall. The last time they didn't have their picks in the first 2 rounds, they got safety Justin Reed, who's been a 3-year starter, and 3rd round tight end Jordan Akins, who's one of their best weapons, and then another offensive tackle they got when they traded to Kansas City for running back Carlos Hyde, who helped them win their last division title. So they have 8 picks. Nick Caserio is in charge for the first time. I just sent in a column to be run Thursday that'll be on our sports website, Texas Sports Nation, tomorrow, about all the picks the Patriots made after the second round who turned out to help them win multiple Super Bowls. Now, Caserio is a director of player personnel, but Bill Belichick is the one that made all those picks. And so now Caserio's in charge for the first time. And he has brought in 38 players through trades or free agent signings. He's made 70 moves overall, counting players he's cut and let go. And there'll be more to come in the draft, undrafted free agents. There'll be more veteran free agents. There's still many out there who are going to have to get real used to the idea of getting the minimum in a year in which the salary cap went down so far. The Texans are in a position to where if, say, Kellen Mond was available in the third round, 67th overall, and Nick Caserio really likes him. He could take the quarterback. He wouldn't start immediately. He'd be groomed. If it didn't work out, next year they'll have their number one pick back, and they'll be one of the worst teams in the league, so they should pick at or close to the first round. So he could do that, but their biggest needs are cornerback and defensive line. There are other positions they've got. They don't have to have, but I've been in my mock drafts, had them taking 3 corners in the first 3, defensive tackle in the next one, and then next week I'll probably go back to corner. So they'd love to get a starter out of it and then some quality depth.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, that you had the opportunity, along with a few others. Lovie Smith was on Zoom for the first time since he was hired, and did some roundabout one-on-one type sessions, did one with us as well. You had, of course, got him, as you should. Was there anything in particular, other than we know what Lovie Smith's background is, we know he's thrilled to be back in Texas, anything in particular, what he said to you that was something that you caught that was more important than anything else?
David, I've not heard David Culley, the new coach, Lovie Smith, defensive coordinator, or Nick Caserio, general manager, tell me anything that surprised me, other than when David Culley did a podcast on Huddle and Flow with Jim Trotter and Steve Weiss, who cover the NFL for the NFL Network, when they asked him about Watson being a quarterback next season, he said, he's our quarterback for now. And we all knew at that point he was going to be traded, but the first time anybody had given a hint. Now, of course, he's got 22 sexual assault lawsuits in civil court hanging over his head, and unless he somehow got those cleared up by the draft, I don't think he'll be traded before the draft, so don't know when it will be. But all those guys, like Lovey's been around forever. All those guys have been in the NFL for a long time. They know how to talk a lot and say nothing. But for someone who has columns and stories to write, as long as what they say when they say nothing is still good, I can use it. So Lovey, what we wanted to talk to him about was the switch from a 3-4 to a 4-3 for the first time since 2010, and people want to know, how much did you keep up the NFL while you were at the University of Illinois? What I wanted to talk to him about privately, and this was my column on him, is how close he came to being hired instead of Bill O'Brien in 2014. And I had written that back then, but I don't think many people realized it. Now, much different it might have been with Lovey as a head coach instead of O'Brien. And another thing, Texans last year had the second fewest turnovers of any team since 1980. And Lovey's teams have always specialized in turnovers. And so I talked to him about that. What is it about your teams that you consistently force a lot of turnovers, considering you've taken over a defense that was worse than the NFL? So he talked about it. It wasn't anything surprising, but I'm really excited about him being here because, as you did, you know how important it is for him to some point in his career come back and coach in Texas for the first time since 1980 when he was a coach at Big Sandy where he won state championship. So now coming back here, it's never too late. He's 62 years old. He's got a lot of work to do, but he'll have time to do it.
Yeah, he's as Texan as they come. Texas Sports Hall of Fame, as you know, Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, which inducts another class coming up on May the 1st, that he is as I didn't even realize until I started talking to him, this is the first time, because there was always a little bit of, there was some simmering about Lovey and the Cowboys there for one stretch. I can't remember. May have been back when they were, I don't know if it was before he was successful with Chicago or the Bears or afterwards. I can't remember, but having him in Texas is great. So who is in charge? Who's the one who's going to make the pick when it comes to the draft for the Texans?
Nick Caserio is in charge of everything that happens on the football side of the Texans organization, and he will make every pick. As he was 20 years at New England, 13 as director of player personnel and Bill Belichick's right-hand man, and he made recommendations, but Belichick signed. He's the one that made the picks, and as I wrote for the Chronicle, and I just turned it in, there's no doubt, no second guessing about who's in charge in this draft, and that is Nick Caserio for the first time in his career.
Is that a good thing?
Oh, considering, yeah. I mean, there wasn't a guy in a front office more deserving of being a GM than Caserio. The Texans had pursued him twice before. And because of the new rule, the Patriots couldn't keep him from talking to him. They got him. Other teams have interviewed him and tried to hire him. 20 years, 6 Super Bowl rings. It was time for him to be a GM. And I haven't found anybody who's gone up against the Patriots, covered them, worked with him, played for him, that doesn't think he's going to do a good job. But one off season is not a barometer. Based on the outfit he inherited, which was 4-12 and should be worse, and he thought he was going to have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now he's going to have to trade him and try to come away with a good deal. You know, it's going to be 3 years before we have a really good idea of how good Caserio is. But the McNair family doesn't interfere as much as everybody tries to think. Jack Easterby, the executive VP of football ops, is somehow influencing him. He doesn't influence him any more than he did Bill O'Brien. Those guys have it in the contract. They have the final say. And because of their personalities, nobody is going to tell them what to do.
John, do you have a favorite? I can't imagine you don't have 5,000 of them, but a favorite or unique day of the draft story that comes to mind?
Oh, gosh, David, I've got a lot of them. Most of them are with the Oilers. I remember in my 1980, they didn't have a first-round pick, and they took this big tackle who weighed about 347. That was big back then, bigger than anybody. Angelo Fields, and they asked Bum Phillips. They asked Bum if about him being fat. He's not fat. He's big. He's just big boned. And another year, Mike Holofax, the general manager, told the media how fired he was about getting a kicker, Joe Wood from Air Force. And then Joe Wood told us, I can't wait to get there after my 4-year military commitment. Oops.
Yeah. Well, I guess that goes out the window. Hey, your thoughts, buddy? Are you still on cloud 9 with Baylor men winning the national title?
I am. I'm going to be, and can't wait till next season. I keep reading the transfer portal. It seems like talented players are transferring every day, and I hope Scott is able to get a good one or two, as Kim Mulkey has done in recent years, and I'm sure she will again. So everybody I know is so fired up about Baylor basketball. They all are on pins and needles waiting to see what happens with the new arena.
Yep, I know. And that's going to be a fun thing. Thank you, John, as always. John McClain.
Thank you, guys. Sic'em.
Hall of Fame writer, columnist, covers the NFL. He is amazing. What a great segment. I've had John on the show for years and years, even before I was in Waco with the show in Tyler, and he is so unbelievably filled with knowledge of the NFL, and not just the Texans or what were they, of course, even way back, as he mentioned, the Oilers, just the NFL in general. Hall of Fame voter and also Hall of Fame writer. All right, break here, Armstrong, to wrap it up. We're done? We're not? Oh, we got all the way to the top? Wow, that's a nice thing. I mean, see what happens when it's just me? We're on time.
We're ahead of schedule, actually.
We have like 7 or 8 minutes to try to get. Hey, do you have the fourth? Yesterday, there's those Aranda bites. It's an email. It's the last one. It's Aranda on coaching personalities. It's maybe a minute or so because we didn't have a chance to get to that. For those on the site or those listening or watching, the interview with Grant Taft has gotten a lot of response, and we appreciate, of course, Coach Taft for being a part of this. A lot of you have responded to it because he's a great guy. Great interview. Incredible. We could interview him again today. But that's not the only one we're going to do. We're going to have in-studio interviews, and we haven't really, we have a plan, but we haven't, this is what we're going to do. But I just responded on the thread that has Coach Taft's interview, and it may be the last one there, about other suggestions. And it needs to be by email, and here's why. And my email address is smokey@SicEm365.com. I've got 2 or 3 of them, but that's the one for here. And the reason why is that I want you, if you have, hey, Smokey, what about Robert Griffin III? Okay, well, we just had him on when the tournament was going on. But in studio or elsewhere, the reason is that if it comes to me by email, I can print it, have it in my hand, and also be able to respond to you, rather than if it's on a thread that might not be at the top anymore, it might go down. That way, you can just send me an email, and I gave my email address, suggestions about interviews. We have had literally, dozens of former Baylor coaches and players, personalities on the show since we launched on April the 6th of 2020. There have been dozens. A couple of high school notes here as we're wrapping up this show on a Tuesday. Tomorrow, Eric Mateos. Former John Tyler football star David Warren is part of the class of 2020 who will be inducted on May 1st into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. Others will be inducted: Danny Amendola, Coach Dan Hooks, Joe Martin, Texas High School Football Coaches Association. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Eric Dickerson, he'll be a part of it. Tyrone Thurman, Chuck Dykes, former Arkansas star. Those are some of the names that will be inducted on May 1st at the Texas Hall of Fame, in the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. But David Warren is one, the former John Tyler star. We're going to have some of those segments coming up. Chuck Dykes, who used to be at Arkansas, played in Texas high school football. He'll be on with us Monday, and all the other names, we'll get them as well. So that's a tease for tomorrow. Former Duncanville record-breaking multi-state champion coach Kathy Self-Morgan, who was suspended by the UIL for 3 years for coaching violations, recruiting violations, text messages that they had to other, like the parents, had a meeting today, an executive meeting with the University Interscholastic League. She has applied for some college jobs, so far remains not coaching. She asked for the UIL to end her 3-year suspension a year early. They denied that. So Kathy Self-Morgan, one of the all-time winningest coaches, and again at Duncanville, is still under one more year. She cannot coach. Also, this happened about a week ago, but I spoke to him on the phone. You know, Amos Davidson was the head coach. He decided to move into like no longer coaching. I believe that's what he did, or he moved somewhere else to be an assistant, but not a head coach. Marty Muir is the head coach now at Gerald, and that's been out there for about a week, but I know Marty very well. He was just at St. Augustine. They were really good. He was at Alto. Very good. That's a really nice hire for Gerald. So Marty Muir is the new head coach, AD football coach at Gerald. And, you know, that's a city, it's a town on I-35 that is blossoming, growing. It's a Class 4A Division II for another year. Not sure they'll get to Division I after this next realignment at the end of the year or next February. But that's a nice job. That's nice, really nice facilities. And they have... I saw them. They played Conley last year at Gerald. Their football stadium has been renovated. It's fantastic. There are more new buildings going up around Gerald High School than I've almost seen any campus before. But he's the new coach. They got a lot of players that are not playing football. A lot of athletes that are either walking the hallway or I don't know what the deal is, but that'll be interesting to see what he can do. I'm not saying he's going to make immediate impact, but that's a nice place. He's actually from Junction City, so not very, very far away. So that's kind of like for him coming back home as well. Now, let's see here.
Smokey, I got something for you.
Yep, okay.
So Mark Few was quoted as saying in The Athletic, "I wish somebody had told me on Sunday morning that's what we were in for. My guys would have responded. I wasn't ready to go there."
With Baylor?
About Baylor.
Okay, say that again.
"I wish somebody had told me on Sunday morning that's what we were in for. My guys would have responded."
What? Why would he not have known that?
I don't know.
You know,
Brian pointed it out on the thread.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Brian. I saw that Brian mentioned something. I didn't quite understand what that was because I didn't see the exact tweet. And Baylor they dog punched Gonzaga from the opening tip. Beat them up. It's one of those where I always say this is a term. Now, they didn't beat them up. They made them like it.
What does he mean by I wasn't ready to go
That's
there?
what I don't understand. Mark Few has a team that's undefeated. They're very good. They were going to play Baylor back in, December. Was he not expecting Baylor? Did he underestimate them?
It sounds like he did.
Or did he underestimate his team not being prepared? Why would you not be ready for what was going to be a street fight?
It was the biggest game of the year. The
game that everyone wanted a year ago.
I don't understand how you could be able to say that you weren't ready to go.
I wish somebody would have told me what to expect on Sunday morning. My guys would have responded. Isn't that his damn job?
Yeah, it is his job.
Mark Few's a really good coach. They just got the number one guy. They're going to be, they might, again, I don't know what their non-conference schedule is, but they're going to be in the conversation again. Is there anybody that is like, you see all these teams adding transfers, Texas got theirs. Chris Beard. You see Texas Tech get one. You see TCU. Oklahoma just got another one. The Duke guard yesterday, and they got a couple of others, the brothers. Is anyone like, hey, we just won the national championship, Baylor. Where are our guys? Well, everyone has to remember they had the 3 high school studs, Jeremy Sohan, Kendall Brown, who we spoke to, and then also Langston Love, who was on up-tempo. But I think people are waiting for both the men and women. Like, who else we going to get? The Moon Urson decision remains out there, and I do think that, I said this last week, more likely she's coming back. It's just a matter of getting all the right paperwork and all that, and it's up for her to announce that she's coming back officially. But I do think you could expect her back. Plus, they have the Carr kid from Tech who's back, and then Kamaria McDaniel, who was hurt from Penn State, who's really good, and she's back, and she'll be able to play. But do you guys get the impression, like, okay, why isn't there some sort of a little surge following the national title?
I think there'll be a surge when Matthew Meyer officially comes back.
Because that's like a recruiting win right there.
Yeah.
And he said yesterday on this show, right? 70-30, he's coming back. But he also had a little bit of a darker comment about, well, I really don't know if I'm coming back.
Yeah.
He kind of like, I really think I might go to the NBA.
Yeah, he did say that.
Hopefully it's just he's taking it serious so he can get the most out of the process.
Which is what Butler and Teague did, and we know what happened when they came back. Jared Butler hasn't declared. Maceo Teague, I think, has been giving, telling tennis shoes or whatever on, people want some money, so that's pretty much it with him. And both of them, I wish them the best of luck. Armstrong, great job. Jack, great job today. Okay, Will Parchman on the international, what was the Super League? John McClain, David Hellman, thanks to Lars Hansen on JV on Sunday at Washington. Mack Rhoades, who answered a lot of tough questions today. And also Pete Fredenberg. That was great to get some reminiscing from him, the Mary Hardin Baylor coach, former Baylor defensive coordinator. For Armstrong and Jack, Craig Smoak's at football practice. Heck of a lineup for tomorrow. I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching and listening. This is SicEm365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.